Chapter 102. Brother Lin, let's go upstairs and eat, Yuan Tianchu said solemnly. According to my guess, there will be a huge battle here. We're just passers-by. It's better to stay away from it. His thoughts were very simple. Stay out of danger. Stay away from the fighting. When they were in danger, they really couldn't rely on Lin Fan. It would be good enough if they didn't get kicked in the back. To think that he would save her? Dream on. Liang Yongqi agreed with this. Although he was no longer valued in the Liang family and was even in despair, when his life was threatened, he would definitely want to save it. Don't waste it. Eat the noodles. We are outside and not in U City, so we have to plan each meal carefully. Lin Fan picked up the lamb leg and bit into it. He then drank the soup, causing his mouth to be covered in grease. Rage points plus 66 rage points plus 66. The two of them were so angry that they were about to cry. This was really too much. Can't you feel the pain of your conscience when you say these words? They were truly unconvinced. Just eat something good. It's fine if your cousin eats well. But the servants by your side also have mutton to eat. Isn't this going too far? Or could it be that their young masters couldn't even compare to a servant? Ha! At this moment, the leader suddenly slammed his weapon on the table. The commotion was so loud that everyone in the surroundings stood up in shock. Their eyes were filled with vigilance, as if a battle was about to break out. Lin Fan frowned. It was a little noisy and affected his appetite. Seeing that his cousin was unhappy, Zhou Zhongmao stood up abruptly and said angrily, "All of you better behave yourselves. Don't disturb my cousin's meal." Uproar. Everyone looked at Lin Fan. Who is this person? How arrogant. Is it one of us? I don't think so. They were all muttering, not knowing who Zhou Zhongmao was and which side he belonged to. Yuan Tianchu lowered his head and did not speak, but his meaning was clear. Don't look at me. This has nothing to do with me. Tiger, it was really a tiger. If they were disturbed, they could just eat quickly. There was no need to attract so much attention. Liang Yongji took a step back and moved further away from the table. If they were to fight later, it would be normal for them to flip the table. Lin Fan nibbled on the leg of lamb and said, "I'm the cousin he mentioned. Rage points plus 66 rage points plus 111 rage points plus 123. 1380 rage points flowed into his account. No matter which side it was, they were all furious. They felt that this person was a bit too arrogant. "Sir, you don't look familiar. I don't think you're from here. I advise you not to get involved in some things. It's not good for you or your friends," the leader said as he lowered his head and drank his wine. His fingers were long and slender, but the bones of his fingers were obvious, giving off an eerie feeling. The people beside the leader all stared at Lin Fan. Some of them slowly pulled out their weapons, showing off their might. It was as if they were saying that if they dared to speak any more nonsense, they would kill them. Yuan Tianchu's heart was in his throat. He could feel danger approaching. Lin Fan couldn't be thinking of using these people to kill them, could he? It was not impossible. It's a misunderstanding. This brother is right. We're just passing by. We will leave after we finish eating. You guys can do your own things. Yuan Tianchu said, "Are you threatening me?" Lin Fan stared at the leader. What he hated the most was being threatened. If it was in the past, and cousin wasn't by his side, and he wasn't strong, then he would just casually threaten him and he wouldn't do anything. But now it was different. His heart swelled up. He wasn't weak, and cousin had broken through to martial path grade 9. Naturally, when they fought, he would be extremely strong. "I'm just speaking the truth," the leader said. He didn't care about Lin Fan and the others at all. Or rather, he had another goal. His true enemy wasn't these people, but the other people here. Yuan Tianchu was about to be stunned. He was doing on purpose. He was definitely doing on purpose. "Surname Lin, couldn't you just say a few words less?" Everyone was living in harmony and didn't care about one another. "Why'd you have to do that?" "Brother Liang, be careful later," Yuan Tianchu said softly. Liang Yongqi's forehead was covered in cold sweat as he nodded his head. Lin Fan silently finished the lamb leg. The leader scoffed coldly and didn't bother about Lin Fan anymore. His target was the people who sat there and didn't move, pretending to be normal people. They were the true enemies. At that moment, Lin Fan finished the meat on the lamb leg, and only the bones were left. Suddenly, with a show, he directly tossed the bones towards the leader. Voila! A bright light flashed in the leader's eyes. With a cautious sound, the bones broke. Pa! The people around him all stood up and stared at Lin Fan in rage. A guy with a knife scar on his face hollered in rage, "You are asking to die." Rage points plus 111. Rage points plus 123. Another wave of 1,952 rage points. Lin Fan pointed at the leader and said, "Let me tell you, I didn't reply to you because I was hungry. Now that I am full, let's deal with you. Were you threatening me?" The leader glanced at Lin Fan and said coldly, "You want to die?" Many people were baffled by what happened at the scene. The people who were waiting in the inn exchanged glances with one another and didn't move. They wanted to see what the situation was like. Cousin trouble. Lin Fan opened his mouth. Zhou Zhongmao got up, twisting his neck as he walked towards the leader. "You are asking to die." Instantly, one of them hollered and attacked Cousin with a knife. Zhou Zhongmao raised his hand and slapped towards him. When his palm touched the blade, it instantly shattered. Then his palm smashed heavily onto his chest. He cried out in pain. A bloody hole appeared in his chest. Large amounts of fresh blood flowed out. He fell to the ground and didn't move at all. He was totally dead. To Zhou Zhongmao, even if he fought outside, he would ensure that he killed the enemy in one strike. He wouldn't let them have any chance to live. Lin Fan felt heart-pained. Cousin was a little vicious. If he killed them all, he wouldn't get any rage points. "Cousin, don't kill them all," Lin Fan said. Shock. The leader didn't expect that this ordinary-looking, honest-looking guy would be so domineering. "My cousin said that I won't kill all of you, but all of you have to kneel down," Zhou Zhongmao hollered. His voice was like thunder. Thick internal strength spread out through his voice. Pooh! Some of the people with lower cultivations felt like their chests suffered a heavy blow and they spat out a mouthful of fresh blood. The people around who didn't move at all were the same. Their eyes were filled with astonishment. What strong internal strength. What kind of cultivation did this guy have to be able to injure them with just his voice? Also, what should they do now? They were the ones who attacked the leader, but now an unknown power appeared and took him down. This was a little awkward. Lin Wani nurtured Zhou Zhongmao and naturally taught him top techniques. Even if he took them out, numerous people would fight for them. "Who are you?" The leader couldn't keep calm. To have such strength, he definitely wasn't a nameless person. Zhou Zhongmao walked in front of him and lifted his leg. He was as quick as lightning. With a crack, his knee broke and he knelt on the ground. "Cousin, it is done," Zhou Zhongmao said. Lin Fan was satisfied with his cousin's super helper. Normally, he didn't want to fight as it would damage his image as a rich young master. He walked in front of the leader. "I thought you were an expert, so you were just like that. Let me ask you, do you know your mistakes?" He looked down from above. The leader was astonished. He didn't expect that so many of them couldn't beat one person. "Who are you?" "We're the King Wudong guards." At this moment, he could only report his background and wanted to use the name of King Wudong to suppress them. King Wudong? Lin Fan didn't expect that he would cross paths with King Wudong again. However, this development process was a little unfriendly. Why did it feel like they were developing in a hostile direction? "Don't mention all this to me. Can't you be quiet when you eat? What are you talking about? You even threatened me. Show me how strong you are." "You can't, right?" Lin Fan shook his head in regret. Why'd they have to do that? It wasn't good for anyone. Now that they knew the situation, they were just suffering. Yuan Tianshu and Liang Yongqi were stunned. Oh God, it was just a meal and a nap. Was there a need to do all this? Couldn't he just be good? P.S. Thank you, Dr. Cadino, Elder Wani, amazing. Chapter 103. These people were King Wudong's guards and naturally had a mission. Some people in the inn were prepared to attack here. Maybe because the difference in strength wasn't huge, everyone was waiting for a chance. However, the situation wasn't right. Lin Fan was like a sh*t stick. No, it couldn't be said that. Although a sh*t stick was a stick, what it stirred was sh*t. He remembered that when he was in middle school, because he was naughty, his teacher called him a sh*t stick in front of all the students. Not only did he not feel sad about it, but he felt fortunate that his teacher loved him. After all, he was just a stick and not sh*t. Mao Ying stared at Lin Fan in rage, his eyes shining red. Even King Wudong's name didn't scare him. Was there something wrong with his head? Lin Fan noticed that a corner of Mao Ying's chest looked like a book. He walked forwards to take it out to take a look. For him to keep it close to his body, it was definitely something good. Seeing him get close, Mao Ying gritted his teeth. A fierce glow flashed in his eyes as he struck towards Lin Fan. The aura was really domineering, like he wanted to rip Lin Fan's heart apart. Zhou Mao didn't panic at all. He had calculated the safe distance in his heart. If he dared to attack, he would be able to instantly kill him. Even though his speed was fast, Lin Fan's was even faster. Lin Fan grabbed Mao Ying's hand and used mixed energy broken jade hand. The color of his palm slowly changed. He used a little strength, and there was a cracking sound. His palm started to change in a really weird manner. He screamed. Mao Ying's head was covered in sweat. His eyes were opened wide, like he was suffering from an unbearable pain. Are you sick in the head? Lin Fan shook his head and took out the thing from his chest. Mao Ying bent over and covered his palms with sweat dripping down his face. Pain. It was really painful. Yuan Tianchu was stunned, especially when Lin Fan crushed his hand so simply and violently. He felt panic in his heart. He even noticed that Lin Fan was acting like a pig to eat a tiger. He didn't notice how cruel he was in U City. Who knew that the moment he left U City, he would be so vicious? He hit it really well. If he continued to stay in U City, he would have continued to be cheated. But now he had caused huge trouble. He was King Wudong's man, and he didn't give him any face at all, suppressing him with violence. In the future, King Wudong would definitely hate him. With King Wudong's status, dealing with the families in U City was like squashing ants. Everyone else in the relay station was panicking. Things had developed beyond imagination. Something was wrong. But even if something was wrong, no one dared to say anything. Military defense map. Lin Fan had thought that it was something good, but it was just a map. He was not interested in these things. Since the other party had kept them, they naturally had their uses. Cousin, don't let them escape. Shopkeeper, bring me a pot of tea. These people were really sick in the head. They had already told them to eat and not make a ruckus, but no one had listened. Now, they had suffered the consequences of their own actions and could not blame others. Mao Ying's brow furrowed. It was too painful, but he looked at the map in his hands. This was something he wanted to bring back to King Wudong. If he lost it, his life would be in danger. Yes, cousin, Zhou Mao replied, who knew that cousin would walk in front of the King Wudong guards and grab their ankles. He clenched his fingers, and there was a cracking sound. Everyone's ankles were crushed. To cousin, maybe this was the best way to prevent them from escaping. Rage points plus 100. Rage points plus 111. He gained a full 3,254 points. He felt a chill down his spine. His methods were really terrifying. Such a scene taught Yuan Tianchu and Liang Yongqi a huge lesson, especially Liang Yongqi, who felt really fortunate. Damn, he was so vicious. He was so skilled in U City. If he did this to him, he would have become trash. The shopkeeper who opened the shop here had already weathered many storms and waves. However, the waves today were a little fierce. He hid at the side to prevent himself from getting into trouble. He let the waiter serve the people present. The waiter held the teacup and his hands trembled. The place slowly became silent, and no one spoke. Those people who were prepared to fight the King Wudong guards all kept their mouths shut and didn't dare to do anything. This group of strangers was really vicious, and their cultivation was really strong. He was able to suppress the other party single-handedly. Even innocent people like them were affected. At this moment, a male walked over and cupped his fists. You have good skills. I'm Yang Wu. Who are you? He asked. Before this, he really misjudged them. He thought that Lin Fan and the others were normal people, but who knew that they were true experts? Yang Wu stared at the map on the table. This was the purpose of their trip. He couldn't let this land in King Wudong's hands. Otherwise, King Wudong would know about the various defense arrangements. Zhou Zhongmao took a look at Yang Wu, and just one look caused his heart to tremble. Although he didn't look good, his strength was like he was born with it. Who were these people? Lin Fan. When one was outside, it was necessary to report one's identity. As for hiding one's real name, that wasn't his style. Lin Fan noticed that he was staring at the map on the table. He picked it up and asked, "You keep looking at this. Do you really want it?" Yang Wu said, "I won't hide it from Brother Lin. This is the defense map, and they are King Wudong's claws. If King Wudong gets it, then war will start and there will be many deaths. I was prepared to attack here, but who knew that Brother Lin would take them down? Brother Lin, you should return it to them. We're just normal people, so it is best if we don't join in," Yuan Tianchu said. He was really afraid. He had just left for a short time and faced such a thing. It wasn't good for anyone to be involved in King Wudong's battle. If he headed out, he would just head to Marshall Path Mountain. Why did he have to get involved in so many things? Yuan Tianchu thought about it. Things definitely weren't so simple. Since the defense map was so important, why would King Wudong only send these small people? He definitely had a backup plan. As for this backup plan, he guessed that it wasn't simple. There were definitely claws of King Wudong in this group of people. Yuan Tianchu lowered his head and didn't want others to remember his face. If they remembered and drew it out and put a bounty on him, the outcome would be catastrophic. As for finding a backup plan, there was no need to talk about it. It had nothing to do with him, so stop joking. Lin Fan said, "Since it is so important, then why are you keeping it? The best protection is to destroy the evidence so that no one could find it." The moment he said that, he placed a map on the oil lamp and lit it up. "Burn it, and no one will know. It is such a simple matter." Gozi said, "Young master is really smart. Brother Lin has a good idea." Yuan Tianchu was shocked. In the past, everyone said that this surnamed Lin had a problem with his head, but after this matter, he realized that those who said that were the ones with a problem were the ones with a problem. To think of such a good idea, could one say that he had a problem with his head? Chapter 104. Burned. The fire was really strong, and the maps that King Wudong wanted were burned just like that. Rage points plus 333. Lin Fan found it weird. Where did the rage points come from? Moreover, it was just one of them. Weird. Brother Lin, this... Yang Wu didn't know what to say. The map that they wanted to get back was burned just like that. It burned really quickly, and they weren't able to react at all. Lin Fan said, "Okay, done. Waiter, give me 3 rooms." "Okay," the waiter replied. This was a vicious person, and he had to serve him well. If he didn't, he wouldn't even know how he died if he did the same to him. To Yuan Tianchu, he didn't even need to think about it. One of the 3 rooms would definitely belong to him. However, the key was how many people were in it. Lin Fan got up and walked upstairs. "Cousin, pay attention to these people. Don't let them save you." Zhou Zhongmao nodded his head. He would definitely do what cousin instructed. These King Wudong guards were mostly destroyed by him. It was impossible for them to flee, unless someone came to save them. But was that possible? He definitely wouldn't let such a thing happen. Everyone exchanged glances with one another. Yang Wu wanted to be friends with Lin Fan, but looking at the situation, it was obvious that Lin Fan didn't want to interact with him. The people who came to get back the map didn't know what to do next. Things were always so inexplicable. It seemed like a good thing that the map was burned, but there was only one copy, and once it was burned, it would be gone. It was important to King Wudong, but to them, it was important too. As for finding trouble with him, forget about it. Didn't they see how strong he was? There were 3 rooms, one for Yuan Tianchu and Liang Yongqi. To Yuan Tianchu, he was mentally prepared, but to Liang Yongqi, he couldn't take it. That was just too much. He was the Liang family 3rd young master, and no matter what, he was born with a silver spoon. Even if he went out and the conditions were bad, he should at least have had a single room, right? But what was this? Within the room, Liang Yongqi took off his clothes and wore his pajamas to have a good sleep. What happened outside had nothing to do with him. Even King Wudong had nothing to do with him. "Why aren't you taking off your clothes?" He noticed that Yuan Tianchu's back was facing him as if he was doing something, so he asked. Yuan Tianchu's body trembled slightly. He turned around and forced a smile. I'm not sleepy. I'll sleep later. One of his hands was inside his clothes, but because his body was blocking it, it could not be seen. This situation was a little weird, and Liang Yongqi thought to himself, Brother Yuan, did you hide some money? Sneaky. That was a possibility. How is that possible? Yuan Tianchu smiled. In his heart, he was shocked. It turned out that Liang Yongji was not simple. He actually saw through it. However, as long as he did not admit it, nothing would happen. If you don't believe me, show me. Liang Yongji saw that Yuan Tianchu's expression wasn't right, and was even more certain that this guy was hiding some money. He had been exploited by Lin Fan until he had nothing left. He had long been unhappy in his heart. Yuan Tianchu shouted as he went forward to pull him. Don't move, don't move. Rip. 2 taels of silver fell to the ground. Liang Yongji glared and said, You really hid money. Yuan Tianchu felt very awkward. Damn, he hid it so deeply and was still noticed. Did he have to do that? I will tell Lin Fan now that you hid money. Liang Yongqi wanted to wear his clothes and tell Lin Fan the truth. He had nothing, and he definitely couldn't let Yuan Tianchu have money. Yuan Tianchu pulled Liang Yongqi. Don't tell him that I have nothing. How can one survive outside without money? How about this? Don't tell him you have a share. I want half. Liang Yongqi took a look, and there were at least a few hundred. He knew that Yuan Tianchu wouldn't be willing to take it out. So, it was a diversion. You are too evil, Yuan Tianchu exclaimed. I really didn't expect you to be so vicious. Half. Why don't you want it all? Liang Yongqi said. Okay, I don't even want half. I will tell him now and see whether or not you can have half. The moment he said that, he was about to wear his clothes and go tell. It seemed like he couldn't be stopped at all. Yuan Tianchu pulled him. Okay, I give up. Half then. Let me tell you that Lin Fan isn't simple. Don't be so simple. Did you see what happened today? Based on my guesses, the people outside will all die tomorrow. How do you know? Liang Yongqi asked. He really didn't think that Yuan Tianchu was very smart. Big brothers don't talk about second brothers. Scoff, how do you know? That's because you don't understand him. Do you know why he didn't kill the people outside? Yuan Tianchu asked. Because they are King Wudong's men. Killing them would cause trouble. Liang Yongqi said. Yuan Tianchu laughed, stupid. Let me tell you, that is because he is fishing. Based on my guess, he knows that King Wudong's men are in the crowd, which is why he didn't kill them. He wants to draw them out tonight. If he killed them before, they wouldn't have a reason to save them. He is really smart. If we follow behind him, we will be in danger. We have to plan ahead. This was what he had just thought about. Thinking about it, it was really terrifying. Liang Yongqi looked at Yuan Tianchu suspiciously. His words sounded like they were true. Do you believe that we will see tomorrow? I'm a little hungry. Yangshan noodles? How can I be full? Take the money and ask the waiter to send us lamb legs and meat soup. Yuan Tianchu said. Lin Fan returned to the room and slept. With his cousin outside, it was safe. As for the defense map incident, it was something that happened, so there was no meaning to it. That night, the inn was really silent. Yang Wu and the others left at night. The mission was considered a half-failure, and they didn't get the map back. However, King Wudong didn't get it either. Lin Fan's actions were really arrogant. He actually burned the map in front of them. Who knew how to explain it to them when they returned? Mao Ying and the others fell to the ground. That unassuming fellow was too vicious. Their ankles were crushed, and they couldn't move at all. The more he thought about it, the angrier he got. He didn't even give face to King Wudong. How despicable. Zhou Zhongmao cultivated and stabilized his grade 9 martial path. At the same time, he used his heart cultivation to strengthen his internal strength. Don't worry, uncle. I will protect cousin. On the day he left, uncle personally came. He used thick internal strength to open up all his meridians, reaching 100. It was really beneficial to his cultivation. He listened to everything that happened outside. Go Z slept on the bed. He rested up as he still had to rush the carriage the next day. His strength was average, and he was pretty much useless. He could only do some rough work. The sky was bright. Nothing happened last night. The first thing Yuan Tianshu did when he woke up was to push open the door to see whether or not there were many people outside. Liang Yongqi washed up and looked at Yuan Tianshu like he was saying that he was a retard. Would you die if you didn't brag? His words sounded like they were real. Until now, nothing happened. To Yuan Tianshu, this didn't make sense. It should be as he guessed. How could nothing happen? Chapter 105. The first thing Lin Fan did when he woke up wasn't to look at the situation outside, but to look at the rage points of the small support system. Rage points, 7,757. He wasn't happy. Last night, it was 7,757. He left them alive to see whether or not they had potential or whether or not they could work together. What a waste. They didn't treasure it, so there was nothing he could do. Cousin, did you sleep well last night? Zhou Mao asked. He cultivated for a night and felt really energetic. At his level, cultivating high cultivation techniques was like swallowing spiritual energy from heaven and earth. It could strengthen one's body and allow one to not need to eat. It is okay, but it isn't as comfortable as sleeping at home. Lin Fan said. That was indeed the case. If not for his father forcing him out, he wouldn't have thought about coming out to suffer. What Marshall Path Mountain? To him, it was just a broken place. He was so happy in Yu City. How could normal people imagine the life of a rich family young master? Outside, Yuan Tianshu and Liang Yongqi muttered. Who knew what they were talking about? Who knew that the two of them who didn't like each other in Yu City would actually be able to talk to one another? Of course, if he knew that Yuan Tianshu's stash was discovered by Liang Yongqi, and he threatened him to split it, he wouldn't have thought that way. Ian was really silent. Last night, even if someone came and saw the situation within, they would be so terrified that they turned around and didn't dare to stay here. He pushed open the door and saw a bunch of people laying on the ground and crying out. Lin Fan looked down at the situation from the top of the building. These guys deserve to die. Brother Lin, they do deserve to die, Yuan Tianshu said. To him, to be safe, they had to kill these people. If they didn't, there would be a problem. So many eyes saw their true colors, and if they let them go and gather the troops, the outcome would be catastrophic. With his understanding of Lin Fan, such a smart and vicious person, how would he not know the connection between all of this? This was why he didn't say those words as a suggestion, but as a reminder. In case Lin Fan woke up in a daze and let them go, he was a little soft-hearted. Liang Yongqi looked at Yuan Tianshu. How despicable. Last night, he bragged to him, and now that he failed, he actually wanted to stab him to make his bragging perfect. How cunning. Cousin, his words make sense. Zhou Mao agreed with Yuan Tianshu's words. They had to be killed. He wouldn't leave any danger behind to threaten his cousin. Whatever, but cousin, we are outside and have limited silver on us. Plus, we have 2 more mouths to feed, so we will have to spend a lot. Go see if these people have any money on them. Lin Fan said. When Yuan Tianshu heard this, he cursed in his heart. Are you still human? Limited silver? Those tails of silver belong to them, all right? It was clearly our money that supported the 3 of you. How come the meaning of your words has changed? Zhou Mao left with killing intent. Mao Ying and the rest of them had been in pain for the entire night. Their faces were extremely pale, especially after one of his palms had been crushed by Lin Fan. He had been bleeding nonstop. If not for the fact that he had some cultivation base, he would have long since bled dry. Zhou Mao roughly tore apart Mao Yin's clothes, as if he was molesting a little woman. Mao Yin felt wronged. Are you a demon? I'm already like this, but you are still so violent. You're really a dog. Pieces of silver fell to the ground. No, it was only a few dozen taels. He was really too poor. So poor that people couldn't bear to look at him. King Wudong won't let you off. Mao Ying stared in rage. He didn't expect that he would face such a situation. King Wudong's name was actually unable to suppress these people. Was it because King Wudong didn't dare to raise his blade, or were they thinking about going against the heavens? Pung! Zhou Mao shattered Mao Ying's heart with one palm. Mao Ying's face flushed red, and he looked at Zhou Mao in disbelief. He didn't expect that Zhou Mao would actually attack him. Lin Fan was really calm. Although Cousin's methods were vicious, what were these fellows doing at night? Sleeping? He didn't provide any rage points at all, so leaving them alive was just a waste of air. He gave them a chance to buy their lives, but they didn't cherish it. Yuan Tianchu looked towards Liang Yongqi with a gleeful expression. Did you see that? What did I say? I told you that Lin Fan would definitely kill these people. I didn't lie to you last night. Now you believe me, right? Of course. He always felt that King Wudong's claws weren't limited to just these people, and there were definitely more people hiding around. But who were they? Where did those people go last night? Or did they think that they weren't as strong as Zhou Zhongmao, which was why they ran, not even saving their own family? As expected, people were cold. Liang Yongqi was shocked. He really didn't expect Yuan Tianchu to guess it right. Even this fellow could guess it right. Terrifying, just too terrifying. Yuan Tianchu didn't say any nonsense. He witnessed everything that happened in front of him. Humans die for wealth, and birds die for food. As expected, money was the worst of all evils. Lin Fan's methods were slowly revealed, and his personality slowly surfaced. At such a moment, who would think about exploiting the wealth of King Wudong's subordinates? Normal people wouldn't think about it, and they would just kill them and leave. But not only did he kill them, but he also took their money. The shopkeeper of the inn shrunk on the counter, and his body trembled. He occasionally popped his head out to look at the situation outside, but the scenes were too terrifying. He shivered and shrunk his head, not daring to show his face. Zhou Zhongmao was decisive and killed all the King Wudong guards here. He then came to his cousin's side. Cousin, there are only 400 silver. Lin Fan shook his head. He didn't expect these people to be so poor. Forget it, it was better than nothing. Let's go, let's hurry. He didn't care much about what happened here at all. It was just a small matter that happened along the way. When they passed the counter, Lin Fan tossed some silver to the shopkeeper. He even gave a little more. Remember to collect the corpse. The shopkeeper nodded his head in fear. When Lin Fan and the others left, the inn was totally silent. The shopkeeper walked in front of Mao Yin and looked at his tragic death. His expression was a little sad. Don't blame me for not saving you. His strength was too terrifying, and I was just protecting myself. If you treat me as a brother, then you will understand why I didn't save you. If you wanted to risk my life to save you, then you don't treat me as a brother. Yuan Tianchu's guess was correct. King Wudong did have a backup plan. The original owner of the inn was killed by him. He was a fake. He wanted to kill Yang Wu and the others from the inside. But who knew that an accident would occur, causing the plan to fail? The strength that Zhou Zhongmao displayed was just too shocking. This was why he was a well-behaved shopkeeper and didn't dare to show any signs of faking. Only when Lin Fan and the others left did he dare to reveal his true identity. Sir, since things have reached such a state, should we head back? The waiter was also from King Wudong. He didn't want to go back. The mission had failed, and it was such a huge failure. If he went back, he would definitely die. Why not just pretend to be dead and change his name to continue living? We are not going back. Go pack your things. We will leave right away. The shopkeeper said. The waiter turned around, but suddenly, with a poochie, something stabbed into his back. You? The waiter's eyes opened wide like he was filled with disbelief. The shopkeeper pulled out his blade and laughed coldly. It is okay as long as I am alive. Bring the secret to accompany them. The more people that know the truth, the more dangerous it is. Chapter 106. A carriage traveled on the official road. It wasn't too obvious, so naturally nothing happened. It was quite safe along the way. Yuan Tianchu looked into the distance. That was the direction of his home. He walked further and further. It was unknown when he would return home. He had been thinking about his father's true goal for sending him out. Did he want to understand Lin Fan's personality? There was no need for that. Anyway, he knew that Lin Fan couldn't be offended, so he would just hide in Yu City. On the contrary, Liang Yongqi was much calmer. He was someone who was abandoned by the family. His big brother took away his father's love and the right to inherit the family. He understood. Boys had to be careful when they were outside. Seeing that Yuan Tianchu was in deep thought, he asked, Brother Yuan, you said that your father sent you out. Is it because your big brother is coming back and your father wants to pass the family head position to your brother? Yuan Tianchu had an older brother and many younger brothers and sisters. Of course, his brother was the one who had the best life. He was recruited as a disciple by the sect experts and hadn't returned for decades. Don't mess with my mind. That is impossible, Yuan Tianchu said. But he panicked. What if Liang Yongqi was right? Lin Fan looked at the two of them and didn't say anything. He also didn't understand why his father sent him out, and even sent these two burdens with him. His family's relationship with these two families wasn't very good. A few days later, an army entered the city. Lu Xian and the others rushed back from Yu City. They had failed this mission and failed to recruit Lin Wani. At the entrance of the carriage, Lu Xian and the others got off their horses and let the guards lead them away. A soldier walked over and said, "Sir, that person is still following behind." And Lu Xian was shocked. He isn't dead? He turned his head and looked at the fellow who wanted to join him in Yu City. He was wobbling like he was about to faint at any moment. During this period of time, it was like he was walking at the edge of hell. He often felt his life slipping away. If not for his willpower, he would have died long ago. "Sir, what should we do now?" the soldier asked. Lu Xian frowned. This person gave him a dangerous feeling. He was really dumb, but he was too vicious to himself. If he really climbed up, it might affect him. But for some reason, Lu Xian wanted to see how far this fellow could go. "Send him to dig rocks," Lu Xian said. The soldier was stunned for a moment. Then he nodded and said yes. He looked at Zhu Xiang with a pitiful gaze. That place was not a place for people to stay. No one knew how many people had died there. Generally, only prisoners on death row or people who had committed major crimes would be sent there. Lu Xian didn't say much and hurried to report to King Wudong in a luxurious mansion. This manor was King Wudong's territory. The aristocratic families in the city were all uprooted by King Wudong, and all their wealth was used by the military. At this moment, Lu Xian bowed and entered the room. He saw King Wudong sitting cross-legged and drinking tea. King Wudong's looks weren't outstanding, but the aura he gave off wasn't to be underestimated. "The recruitment failed?" King Wudong asked. Lu Xian knelt on the ground. "Yes, I failed. Lin Wani rejected the offer. I expected it. You were friends with Lin Wani in the past, and I was looking forward to it. I didn't expect that you would reject my good intentions." King Wudong smiled. Lu Xian felt like he was losing face and felt that Lin Wani wasn't good enough. No matter what, they were friends, and he didn't give him any face at all. So what if he was recruited? King Wudong was talented and had the intelligence to rule the world. It was important to follow the right person. What was the point of hiding in a small Yu City? "King, should we send troops to destroy Yu City?" Lu Xian asked. To him, the situation was simple. Since he didn't give King Wudong face, then he would just wipe him out and everything would be fine. King Wudong said, "No need for now. I have heard rumors about Yu City's Lin Wani. Now is the time to send troops to deal with him. It isn't wise to deal with Lin Wani, so let's leave him aside for now." Lu Xian replied. Working beside King Wudong was a huge pressure. He wasn't the only strategist. If he couldn't get things done, then his position in King Wudong's heart would be greatly reduced. At that moment, a white pigeon flew in from outside with a letter tied to its leg. King Wudong looked at the letter and frowned. He then relaxed, and his expression was dark and sunken. Failed. They actually failed to get the map. The letter said that they met with an accident and were all wiped out. A few unknown people broke it. This matter made him furious. Trash. A bunch of trash. They could even fail like that. It was good that they died. Even if they returned, he would skin them alive. At such an important moment, they failed. No matter who it was, they would be punished severely. Lu Xian saw that King Wudong's expression wasn't good and retreated. Another few days later, Lin Fan's group was already thousands of miles away from Yu City. They walked on the official path and didn't face any danger. This was a little different from what Lin Fan had expected. In his opinion, when one was outside, there would definitely be danger at all times. A journey without danger would be so boring. Another day later, the sun shone brightly. "Cousin, we are already at the foot of Marshall Path Mountain," Zhou Zhou Mao said. Lin Fan walked out of the carriage and raised his head to look. In front of him was a huge mountain. He could see that there were houses on it, and the surrounding was covered by trees. It was very different from the thousands of mountains he had imagined. Why does it feel a little old and broken? Lin Fan said. It wasn't that he looked down on this place, but that he really felt that way. Yuan Tianshu said, Brother Lin, the mountain is spiritual. This Martial Path mountain is in the mountains, so it is definitely not bad. Where are the people? We stood at the foot of the mountain for so long and didn't even see a single person. It is just too cold. Lin Fan said. In his heart, Father told him to come to Martial Path Mountain. So this Martial Path Mountain was definitely an amazing place. A famous sect, glorious, luxurious, and deep. However, he really couldn't tell. Although he didn't want to admit it, Lin Fan's words made sense. He didn't see a single person. When he raised his head and looked out, there was a cold feeling. No matter what, it was really different for what he expected. Liang Yongqi was helpless. Was this where he was going to live from now on? It was just too secluded. Let's go up, Lin Fan said. Zhou Mao walked in front. Before coming, Uncle told him that Martial Path Mountain sect leader Zhang Tianshan had a relationship with him. Martial Path Mountain was developing well. Although it couldn't compare to large sects, it had its own specialties. However, it seemed like something wasn't right. Logically speaking, even if it was a normal sect, there should at least be disciples at the foot of the mountain. There was also a lot of dust on the road. It was obvious that not many people walked here. The path up the mountain wasn't tough. There were steps, and after walking for a long time, they finally reached the top. The stone door was huge, with the words Martial Path Mountain written on it. However, there was still no one, and it was really empty. Did we come to the wrong place? Or did my father lie to me? Lin Fan asked. Suddenly, there was a piece of paper pasted on the stone pillar. Maybe because of the passage of time, it had already turned yellow. Lin Fan walked forwards to take a look, and his pupils constricted. What? Yuan Tianshu walked over and took a look too. Damn. Liang Yongqi found it weird. What was going on? Why was he making such a big deal out of nothing? However, when he saw it, his expression became really weird, and he blurted out, Damn. Chapter 107. They were shocked, not because Martial Path Mountain had problems, but because the contents of the note pasted on the pillar were unacceptable. Notice, due to poor management, we have no rice to cook. We will temporarily seal the mountain. If you have any urgent matters, you can find me at Jiang City's Mingguang Road. Zhang Tianshan will stay. This, Lin Fan was speechless. Cousin, Martial Path Mountain has already gone bankrupt. Shouldn't we head back? Zhou Mao was filled with disbelief. How did this happen? Uncle didn't say that. That was true. Lin Wani only knew that Zhang Tianshan was doing well, but he only found out many years ago when the two of them exchanged letters. Of course, Zhang Tianshan couldn't say, Bro, I'm doing really badly now. Could he say that? Wasn't that slapping his own face? Men couldn't say that they couldn't do it. Even if they couldn't, they had to bear it. Yuan Tianshu felt sad. What was the purpose of running such a long way? Just to read a piece of paper? Brother Lin, I suggest we return to Yi City. Martial Path Mountain is a hole. Look at the situation. It is so tragic. Yuan Tianshu wanted to head back. But he wouldn't go back alone. Otherwise, he would disappoint his father. As long as Lin Fan took the lead, he would have a reason to explain. You can't blame me for this. Martial Path Mountain closed, and Lin Fan insisted on coming back, so I could only follow. No, Uncle gave me an order that no matter what, we can't go back. Zhou Mao said. The night he left Yi City, not only did Uncle help him open up his meridians, but he also instructed him not to return. No matter what the situation was, he had to stay there. He stared at Yuan Tianshu in rage. His gaze was like if he dared to trick his cousin to return, he would take his life. Yuan Tianshu was smart and understood what Zhou Mao was thinking right away. He didn't dare to offend this fellow who looked so simple and honest. He was pretty much a demon hiding under that simple and honest expression. No, Brother Lin, I feel like this is old Master Lin's test for you. A test of whether or not you can inherit the family. Old Master Lin definitely knows that Marshall Path Mountain has become like this, so he wants to see what we will do. Will we flee and return, or will we head forwards and solve the problem? Yuan Tianchu said. What did he mean? He was being threatened. He had never been threatened in his life. But sadly, in this short period of time, he was threatened by Lin Fan, Zhou Zhongmao, and Liang Yongqi. Life was so wonderful. Wait a minute. Yuan Tianchu frowned. He felt that things weren't so simple. There was a problem here. Brother Yuan, what's with your expression? Lin Fan saw his serious expression and seemed to understand something. Yuan Tianchu paced back and forth, his head lowered in deep thought. Then he raised his head, his eyes shining. Brother Lin, this is a trap to test us. Based on my guesses, Old Master Lin definitely knows about the Marshall Path Mountain situation, but he still told us to come from so far away. What is his goal? The purpose is simple. It's a test for us. To be able to open a sect in the mountain, how could it be so weak? It is obvious that this is Marshall Path Mountain's test for us, so we have to go through it and find the true path in a Marshall Path Mountain. Liang Yongqi asked weirdly, based on what you mean, this isn't Marshall Path Mountain? She said it as if it was true. He felt that Yuan Tianchu was an interesting person. He only knew how to brag like he knew everything. Lin Fan didn't say anything. He felt that Yuan Tianchu's words made sense. Yuan Tianchu walked in front of the paper and pointed at the contents. Look at the content, there is a problem. Bad management, no rice to cook. What is bad management? What is no rice to cook? Normal sects have at least 100 disciples, and at most 1,000. To be able to establish a sect, there is no such thing as bad management. As for no rice to cook, that is nonsense. So many disciples have arms and legs. So how could they starve to death? Also, the environment here is a mountain, and there is a city in the distance. Catching some wild animals and selling them in the city is also money. Look at the last line, Jiang City Mingguang Street Flavor Manor Building. This is a clue for us to search for clues there. Brother Lin, one has to say that Old Master Lin has a close relationship with Marshall Path Mountain to be able to arrange such a test. After Yuan Tianchu's deduction, it did make sense. People who read a few books were really good. When Wang family, young Master Wang Yunfei, came to U City, Yuan Tianchu calmed down. He recited poems with girls and discussed literature. All this knowledge was in his heart. Lin Fan thought about it, and then looked at Yuan Tianchu. I didn't expect you to have some skills. Yuan Tianchu smiled in delight. It is just a small matter, not difficult at all. However, there are some details that I need to deduce. He was even panting after praising a few times. Liang Yongqi looked at Yuan Tianchu in disdain. What was he so proud of? What he hated the most were people who had a glib tongue. He was exactly the same as that surnamed Lin. Why didn't he notice it in the past? These are all your guesses. Who knows if it is true or not? Liang Yongqi said. Yuan Tianchu smiled. Whether it is true or not, we will know when we see it. Liang Yongqi's distrust made him unhappy. What did he mean? He was looking down on him. If he had balls, then follow him to Jiang City. See how I will use facts to slap his face. Go Z, what do you think? Lin Fan asked. Young Master, whatever you say. Go Z replied. Since Young Master asked, then he would definitely stand on the same path as Young Master. If Young Master thought that Yuan Tianchu was talking nonsense, then what he said was nonsense. Lin Fan thought about it for a moment. Let's go, let's head to Jiang City to take a look. He didn't understand his father's true thoughts. He felt like there was something wrong with this. However, he really didn't know what the problem was. Jiang City. It really is a luxurious city. Lin Fan said. That was indeed the case. Even if one didn't enter the city, one could tell just by looking at the city walls. U-City's city walls were old and really low. If one met someone who knew martial arts, they would be able to climb up right away. There were guards at the city gates. They didn't check the people who entered. It was like a decoration. The roads were paved with green bricks. The streets were really busy with people walking to and fro. If one didn't look, one wouldn't know. The gap was way too big, wasn't it? Why was U-City so old and broken? He couldn't understand. He found a passerby and asked where Wafer Restaurant was. Not long later, A luxurious restaurant appeared in front of them. This was much more luxurious than Drunk Fragrance Pavilion. In Lin Fan's words, Weifu Restaurant was a 5-star restaurant, while Drunk Fragrance Pavilion was a 2-star restaurant. There was no comparison at all. There was an old man who set up a fortune-telling stall at the entrance, using the ground as a table. There was a copper bell in his left hand. On his right was a banner which wrote, Iron Mouth God Fortune Teller Zhang Tianshan. Lin Fan and the others stood at the entrance. Go ask whether or not Zhang Tianshan is here. The fortune teller Zhang Tianshan wanted to bluff these few people who came from other places. However, when he heard that they were looking for him, he squinted his eyes and pricked up his ears to listen. Yuan Tianshu said, I think we won't be able to get anything out of him. If we want to enter Martial Path Mountain, we have to go through this test. Lin Fan said, let's ask first. The fortune teller Zhang Tianshan got up without changing his expression. He went to the alley to change his clothes. With a shake of his body, he looked like a celestial being. He then returned to his original spot and waited for the fish to take the bait. P.S. Going on sale on the 22nd. Please give me a recommendation. Chapter 108. Not long later, Liang Yongqi came out and looked at Yuan Tianshu in disdain. I told you that you were bragging. I asked around, and everyone said that Martial Path Mountain closed many years ago. You said that it was a test. Let's see how you explain it. Liang Yongqi didn't care about the Martial Path Mountain situation. He just couldn't stand Yuan Tianshu. In the past, he didn't see it in U City. Why did he become like this after leaving home? He was speculating about everything as if he knew everything. Speak. Continue. Let's see how you continue to brag. Yuan Tianshu found it weird. That was impossible. How could he have guessed wrongly? All the clues pointed to this place. Impossible. This is definitely a test. How could a sect close just like that? How useless is that Martial Path Mountain sect leader? Anyways, I don't believe it. When Zhang Tianshan heard that, he didn't feel good in his heart. What did he mean? Why did it feel like he was scolding him? This kid didn't know how to speak and still remembered it. When he had a chance, he had to teach him a lesson. Lin Fan was helpless. Okay, let's not talk about this. Whether or not it is a test, let's find a place to rest and talk about it tomorrow. It was okay for father to let him come to Martial Path Mountain, but at least he had to be reliable. What test? He didn't even see a single person. He was just playing around. Just as they were prepared to leave, an interesting voice spread out. Zhang Tianshan pinched his goatee and smiled. Friends, please wait. Everyone looked over. Yuan Tianshu was interested. This was a clue. Lin Fan said, I remember that you weren't like that. Although he didn't pay much attention, he remembered that he didn't dress like that. Why did he change in the blink of an eye? Zhang Tianshan smiled. I have always been like that. You all came from other places, right? Looking at your faces, you are here to learn. Lin Fan said, You are a fortune teller? Zhang Tianshan smiled and didn't say a word, pointing at the white banner beside him. Wandering clouds and wild cranes, hidden experts. The content on the banner was really direct and easy to understand. The meaning was obvious. I am amazing. I am an expert. It is really easy for me to see through you. Direct. Lin Fan nodded. Who would believe you? You big liar. Zhang Tianshan smiled. I see that your faces are bitter. It is obvious that you are in trouble. When I walk the world, I will help people solve their problems. We are fated, so I can give you some pointers. There are too many people here. Why don't we go inside and talk? He was a little hungry. It had been a long time since he had eaten at Weifu Restaurant. Yuan Tianshu stared at Zhang Tianshan. This person was an expert. His aura couldn't lie. The key to the Martial Path Mountain test was definitely this person. Lin Fan said, It's okay. Let's just talk here. You won't have a chance to get free food. Zhang Tianshan was stunned. Were kids so direct now? Damn, he saw right through me. Huh. Zhang Tianshan calmed himself down. Misunderstanding. I just saw that there were too many random people here and didn't want to reveal too many secrets. Yuan Tianshu said, Brother Lin, Great Celestial is right. This is a test. He wanted to show off in front of Liang Yongqi. This fellow had doubted his ability so many times which made him unhappy. He had to use the truth to let Liang Yongqi know that doubting him was a dumb thing to do. Lin Fan didn't bother about Yuan Tianchu and looked at Zhang Tianshan. What is Great Celestial's name? My surname is Zhang. Zhang Tianshan said. He didn't know where these people came from. However, after knowing that they came to Marshall Path Mountain to learn, he had thoughts of rising up. Surname Zhang. You are Zhang Tianshan. Lin Fan said quickly. Zhang Tianshan was stunned and shook his head. I am not. He suddenly realized that these fellows weren't easy to deal with. Each one was smarter than the other. He just said that his surname was Zhang, and they knew who he was? Lin Fan said, My father, Lin Wani, told me to come to Marshall Path Mountain to find you. If you aren't, then I will return to you city right away. Zhang Tianshan looked at Lin Fan with a weird expression and didn't believe it. This kid was Lin Wani's son? He didn't look like him. Although Lin Wani was a rough person, he had a handsome face. Why did his son look so normal? However, he had no choice. This kid was a stubborn person. He was too direct. After thinking about it for a long while, Zhang Tianshan smiled and said, So it is you. Lin Fan sighed. Now I understand why Marshall Path Mountain went bankrupt. Why? Zhang Tianshan said with a weird expression. Marshall Path Mountain had gone bankrupt for a long time. So how would this kid know the reason? Lin Fan said, You are too honest. His words were true. He just casually bluffed him, and he admitted it. How was he going to survive with such intelligence? Wait, this isn't a test. Yuan Tianchu couldn't accept it. How did it become like this? Kiki. Liang Yongqi mocked in disdain. What AF asterisk king test? His brain was sick. This is a letter from my uncle. Zhou Zhongmao took it out. Zhang Tianshan took it and opened it. While reading it, he was expressionless, but huge waves rose up in his heart. He still didn't change. He used kindness to threaten me and also liked to coax me. What did he mean by didn't have many true friends? Zhang Tianshan was one of them. He made me feel touched. However, the words at the back were a little heavy. The last sentence. Brother Tianshan, it has been decades. Normal friends need to be close to each other, but we are true brothers. No matter how long we haven't seen each other, we will speak directly. We are true brothers. I hand my son to you. Please take care of him. After reading this, burn it and don't let my son see it. Zhang Tianshan felt bitter. Lin Wani. In the past, I was coaxed by your sweet words. Now you're doing it again. However, he had no choice. Zhang Tianshan suffered from this. No one treated him as a friend. Only Lin Wani treated him as a friend. After reading the letter, he tore it and then swallowed it in front of them. His actions were really familiar. He probably did this many times in the past. What did my father say? Lin Fan asked. Zhang Tianshan said, Nothing much, just a few casual sentences. Just at that moment, Yuan Tianchu grabbed Zhang Tianshan's arm and said, Can you tell them that Marshall Path Mountain didn't close down? Everything that happened now is just a test. This kid is? Zhang Tianshan asked. He's from my hometown. I brought him out to see the world. Lin Fan said. Zhang Tianshan acknowledged and patted Yuan Tianchu's hand. Kid, this isn't a test. It is true. Marshall Path Mountain really closed down. The situation is a little complicated, so let's not talk about it. He really didn't want to say much more. He just wanted to cry. That mountain didn't belong to Marshall Path Mountain. He rented it. A year's rent wasn't small. It was a few hundred silver. The key was those Marshall Path Mountain disciples. Apart from eating and drinking, they also had to give them monthly stipends. He was to blame for not having any ability as the sect leader. He couldn't get any business and couldn't compete with others. He couldn't make ends meet and couldn't take it. He could only announce that they were closing down. The disciples all went home to farm. Some were poached by other sections. Tragic. P.S. Everyone who has recommendation votes. Chapter 109. They really didn't expect Marshall Path Mountain to close down. They came from so far away, and in the end, this was the outcome. They couldn't accept it. Marshall Path Mountain has already closed down, so shouldn't we head back? Liang Yongqi asked. He didn't want to stay here. Thinking about it, even if he wasn't welcomed at home, it was much better than staying by Lin Fan's side. The feeling of being on tenterhooks wasn't a good one. Yuan Tianchu was stunned as he stood there. He couldn't accept such an outcome. What he guessed was right. So why did such an outcome occur? Cousin, did my father tell you what to do if Martial Path Mountain doesn't exist? Lin Fan asked. Father probably didn't expect Martial Path Mountain to be like this. He felt that going home was the right choice. There was no future here. Zhou Mao was stunned. Uncle didn't tell him about these problems, so when cousin asked him, he didn't know what to say. Zhang Tianshan wanted to rise up again, but his ability was limited, and he hadn't found a suitable chance. He felt that the chance to rise up Martial Path Mountain had arrived. At the same time, he couldn't let these few kids leave. Your father said that whether or not Martial Path Mountain exists isn't important. What is important is that as long as I am here, you have to stay here. Zhang Tianshan said. Lin Fan said, when did my father say that? Zhang Tianshan pointed at his stomach. The letter said it, but I ate it, so you can't see it. Only I know. Damn, wasn't he just spouting nonsense? He read the letter, tore it, and swallowed it. Of course, whatever he said was true. Zhang Tianshan came over and said softly, guys, do you want to help me rise up again? Lin Fan shook his head to express that he didn't want to. Haze, don't reject so quickly. As long as we rise up, I will be the sect leader, and all of you will be heroes of Martial Path Mountain. I can let you be the grand disciple. That is a rare chance. Zhang Tianshan said. He felt that Brother Lin sent his son over at the right time. No matter what, Brother Lin was from a rich, aristocratic family. His son definitely brought a lot of money out. Lin Fan said, stop teasing me. You just see that we have money and want us to invest. Truthfully, you definitely won't be able to rise up again. His words were so King straightforward. It totally hurt Zhang Tianshan's heart. Zhou Mao had to let cousin stay here. He thought about it and said, it is possible to rise up again, but the position has to be changed. Martial Path Mountain sect leader has to be my cousin. Zhang Tianshan's expression was filled with shock. How is that possible? I'm a Martial Path Mountain sect leader. If he is the sect leader, then what am I? Zhou Mao said, as a disciple. Impossible, impossible, I am shameless. Zhang Tianshan muttered. What a joke. Asking his disciple to do so would be a laughing stock if word got out. Lin Fan looked at his cousin. What was he saying? Who wanted to be the sect leader? That stupid mountain had to clean up the mess? He wanted to go home. I don't really think about anything else. Yuan Tianchu thought about the situation. He felt that there was something wrong with this. He felt that something was wrong, but he couldn't tell what was wrong. It seemed like he had to think about it carefully. Zhang Tianshan said, it is impossible for me to be a disciple. At least I have to be the deputy sect leader. I am familiar with the area and can help a lot. Lin Wani's letter told him to stay here and not to let him return to U City. Zhang Tianshan naturally had to do that. Anyway, Martial Path Mountain had closed down. If he could open up again, being the deputy sect leader was a good choice. Lin Fan looked at the two of them. Are you serious? I am the sect leader? At this point, the tone of his voice was slightly raised. Zhang Tianshan sighed. Then you be. Anyway, Martial Path Mountain has closed down and you're the biggest sponsor, so you should be the one. After saying that, he exchanged glances with Zhou Mao. The two of them understood. They both wanted to keep Lin Fan here and not let him return to U City. To Zhang Tianshan, it was the same no matter who became the sect leader. Anyway, it was a mess. Moreover, Martial Path Mountain didn't belong to him and was rented. If one day they didn't rent it, he would have to move. Liang Yongqi felt like he didn't matter and it had nothing to do with him. Actually, he wanted to compete for the sect leader position, but now, it seemed like it wasn't decided by strength or character, but by wealth. Damn, that was a little too much. Using their money to be the sect leader was just too much. Lin Fan thought about it. He definitely couldn't return to U City. He said that he would return to U City, but he was just saying it. How could he really go back? He was used to being a rich young master. All of a sudden, he didn't want to lose it. Now that he had a sect leader position, it felt good. But the key was that he was poor. What did Martial Path Mountain have? Apart from those houses, there was nothing at all. The pressure was huge. Okay, then let's try. Lin Fan didn't dare to be so sure. Who knew how much debt Marshall Path Mountain had? If it gave him a headache, he would definitely retreat. Even if his father smashed his head, he had to return to U City. Zhang Tianshan was a little hungry. Sect leader, to celebrate today, let's go to the shop to drink some wine and celebrate. What do you think? Liang Yongqi was a little hungry. He had been out for so long and hadn't eaten at a good shop before. Just one look, and he knew that Weifu restaurant was much better than Drunk Fragrance Pavilion, so it was natural for him to try it. Lin Fan said, let's keep it simple. It is a waste to celebrate, so let's talk about it in the future. Go Z, bring them to the roadside stalls to eat. Cousin and I will go to the toilet in Weifu restaurant. Okay, young master, no, sect leader. Go Z said. How could Zhang Tianshan not see through Lin Fan's thoughts? My stomach hurts. I will follow all of you. And Lin Fan opened his eyes wide. Why? I just became the sect leader, and you all dare to go against me? Zhang Tianshan dissed so much that he wanted to beat Lin Fan to death. You're such a pervert. Did he really think that he couldn't see through it? Then Lin Fan brought cousin into Weifu restaurant. Zhang Tianshan and the others went to the roadside stalls not far away. Haze, this is a sect leader who can't share blessings. Zhang Tianshan grumbled. Afterwards, Lin Fan and cousin walked out after eating their fill. This restaurant was really good, much better than Drunk Fragrance Pavilion. A big city really was a big city. The craftsmanship was really good. Zhang Tianshan and the others drank tea at the roadside stalls. Naturally, they couldn't compare to one another. One was heaven, one was earth. The gap was just too huge. Let's go. Let's head to Marshall Path Mountain to take a look. Lin Fan said. Zhang Tianshan and the others looked towards Lin Fan and Zhou Zhongmao with a bitter gaze. The two of them ate so much, but didn't they see what they were eating? Sect leader? How is there such a sect leader? No matter what, even if they ate alone, they had to bring him, the deputy sect leader. Chapter 110. Marshall Path Mountain, foot of the mountain. Haze, I didn't expect to return. I'm really emotional. Zhang Tianshan stood there and looked out. He was reminiscing. No matter what, he was a sect leader in the past. Although it had already closed down, no matter what, this was an experience in his life. However, when he thought about those disciples, he wanted to curse. A bunch of practical bastards. If he didn't give them money, they would all run. They didn't have any thoughts of sharing their pain and happiness. Who does this Marshall Path Mountain belong to? Lin Fan asked. Zhang Tianshan said, Marshall Path Mountain belongs to Jiang City's Huang family. A few years ago, I saw that this mountain was filled with spiritual energy, so I negotiated with old Master Huang to rent it for 700 silver a year. I have rented it for dozens of years. Close to 10,000 silver was spent on this mountain. Haze, all my money is gone. That was indeed the case. This was all the money that Zhang Tianshan had accumulated when he was young. In the past, when he was in the pugilistic world, he had made a name for himself and was extremely wealthy. If he had opened a small shop, he would have been a millionaire. However, he wanted to open a sect and invest all his money in it. Who knew that he would lose so much that he nearly lost his underwear? Everyone went up the mountain. The stone steps were well maintained, just that some areas were damaged. They had to be repaired, and that was another sum of money. The weeds grew really well and had to be trimmed. Looking at it, the repair fees were huge. Now, he just hoped that the house would be in good condition. In front of the Marshall Path Mountain Hall, Zhang Tianshan touched the closed door and slowly wiped off the dust. His tone was filled with emotions. I am back. To him, this place was filled with beautiful memories. However, the heavens didn't help and actually let Marshall Path Mountain, which had the potential to become a huge sect, close down. Wasn't that too much? Lin Fan pushed open the door. The environment inside was a little simple and old. The roof was missing bricks and tiles, and there was a huge hole in it. Why is it so broken? No matter whether or not it closed down, at least the infrastructure had to be undamaged. Yuan Tianchu frowned. He didn't say anything, but looking around, he felt that things weren't as simple as he thought. Then, he looked towards Martial Path Mountain sect leader Zhang Tianshan. This person was not simple, and he could not be judged by his appearance. In hindsight, he suddenly realized that something was wrong with the situation. If you were the sect leader and your position was suddenly taken away by someone else, would you agree to it? No matter what, he would never agree. To him, Zhang Tianshan was obviously finding someone to take over to rebuild Martial Path Mountain without using his own money. Once it was on the right track, he would kick Lin Fan aside. The more he thought about it, the more terrified he became. It was truly terrifying. At this moment, Zhang Tianshan gave a bitter smile. However, to Yuan Tianshu, that expression was a sign that his plan had succeeded. Yuan Tianshu was someone who could see the current situation more clearly than anyone else. Zhang Tianshan said, "Sect leader, to recover Martial Path Mountain, we have to repair it. The situation is urgent, so please make a decision." Was it really that realistic? He had just come to Martial Path Mountain to investigate and hadn't even seen everything. He wanted to trick him to repair Martial Path Mountain. He estimated that to repair Martial Path Mountain, he would need a lot of silver. As the deputy sect leader, I shall leave this heavy responsibility to you. Lin Fan said. Zhang Tianshan blinked and rubbed his fingers. Sect leader, we need this to repair Martial Path Mountain. Lin Fan said, I have no money. He was just so direct. He could be the sect leader, but he had no money. Zhang Tianshan said, Sect leader, I have no money too. Like to prove that he was speaking the truth, he took out his pockets. He was completely poor, and there was nothing at all. How could he live like that? Yuan Tianshu kept silent. The bird that poked its head out would be shot. He was just a bystander, so he shouldn't cause any trouble and just watch. Suddenly, Cousin, who was always forgotten, opened his mouth. Cousin, I have money. The moment he said that, he attracted everyone's attention. Zhou Zhongmao took out a handful of silver. There were at least a few thousand. As for the exact amount, he didn't count it. Lin Fan's eyes opened wide. Cousin, where did you get it from? Zhou Zhongmao said calmly. Uncle gave it to me when I left. Then, why didn't you tell me? Lin Fan was stunned. Oh my God, he had to teach Cousin a lesson. He was actually hiding secrets from him. With so much money, he should have told him long ago. If he took it out now, wouldn't he be giving it to Martial Path Mountain for nothing? Zhou Zhongmao said, Cousin, Uncle told me not to tell you. I can only take it out when there's a real problem. I saw that Martial Path Mountain was a little old, and it was similar to what Uncle said, so I took it out to repair Martial Path Mountain. Haze, Lin Fan sighed. Cousin, to think that I was so sincere to you, but you did such a thing. Cousin's heart was about to be hurt. Master Zhang's smile was like a flower. His eyes were shining. This money is enough to repair Martial Path Mountain. I even have the money to rent the mountain. Rage points plus 66. At this moment, rage points came. Liang Yongqi was furious. That was just too despicable. He was so rich, and he still snatched his money. That was too much. That was just too much. Yuan Tianshu's emotions were better for a long time. When he saw Zhou Zhongmao take out so much money, he didn't feel anything. He didn't feel any rage. He even felt like he was trying to cause trouble. He was sure that he wouldn't guess wrongly, and there would be a time for him to cry. However, he was wary of Zhang Tianshan. This person was really meticulous, and his methods were no weaker than Lin Fan's. The older, the wiser. Respect. Zhang Tianshan looked at Martial Path Mountain, and he felt great. He saw the prosperous future of Martial Path Mountain. Martial Path Mountain, which had money injected in, would shine brightly. The future was right in front of his eyes. Sect leader, now that our Martial Path Mountain has money, I think we should call those disciples back to strengthen our sect. Zhang Tianshan said. Lin Fan was speechless. What are you thinking calling them back? They came back to eat rice, and you want to close down? He didn't understand how Martial Path Mountain closed down for no reason. They didn't eat rice, but they have to pay a monthly salary. Normal disciples get 1 silver a month. Core disciples get 6 silver a month. Zhang Tianshan said. Lin Fan looked at Zhang Tianshan with his mouth agape. Were you joking? The sect recruited disciples, and they had to pay them money? What kind of rule was that? Were they bullying him for not reading novels before? Not only was Lin Fan stunned, even Zhou Zhongmao was stunned. So this was the reason why Martial Path Mountain went bankrupt. Actually, one couldn't blame Zhang Tianshan. His methods of recruiting disciples were a little wild. Just by eating in a restaurant, he could recruit a waiter to be his disciple. Not only did he eat and drink for free, but he also had to pay. If there was no money to pay, the waiter would definitely have to go back to work in the restaurant. Of course, after learning some martial arts, the waiter was no longer an ordinary waiter, but a waiter who knew martial arts. It could be said that he had a skill. P.S. Thank you, In Xiaoxia. Chapter 111. Lin Fan and the others slowly understood the situation of Martial Path Mountain under Zhang Tianshan's lead. Regret spread in his heart. Cousin's actions weren't good. He should have said that he had money. Why did he have to hide it? To redecorate Martial Path Mountain, he was sick in the head. He just wanted to stay outside for a period of time and then return to U City to enjoy life when the time was right. Other things didn't have anything to do with him. But now it was impossible. Zhang Tianshan took 100 silver from Cousin and went to find people to start work. His initial estimation was that he would need at least 1,000 silver to renovate Martial Path Mountain. This was already a terrifying budget. However, he had no choice. The building was too old, and there were too many areas that needed to be repaired. That night, Martial Path Mountain couldn't be lived in. There was nothing at all. The bed in the room was only left with a few wooden planks. Who knew what Zhang Tianshan did? Even if he closed down, there shouldn't be no place to stay, right? The place they were staying at tonight was quite friendly. Lin Fan had originally wanted to sleep in the carriage with a few of them. However, he had no choice. He incurred the rage of the masses and gained 200 to 300 rage points. He could only bring them to the inn. They couldn't even take a little bit of pain, so how could they talk about reviving Martial Path Mountain? Regret, disappointment. Liang Yongqi really wanted to scold Lin Fan. You're just too much. Just make do with it? If you just make do with it, then so be it. You obviously wanted us to sleep, but you, Cousin, and this lackey slept at the inn. Do you think we are fools? He had never seen such a shameless person before. Lin Fan looked at the full moon in the night sky and sighed, I want to go home. Only after leaving U City did he understand how much he missed home. Although he had just left for a short time, he missed it a lot. Next day, Zhang Tianshan was really efficient. Money made things easier, and he found many nimble people in Jiang City. They all fought for the job. News of Martial Path Mountain opening up spread like wildfire. Many people rubbed their palms and were eager to try. To the commoners of Jiang City, it was great to be able to enter Martial Path Mountain. Not only did they have food and lodging, but they could also get a salary and learn some martial arts. Where else could they find such a good thing? It could only happen in Martial Path Mountain. Martial Path Mountain. Zhang Tianshan stood with his arms behind his back. Many commoners stood behind him. Sect leader, everyone is here. Martial Path Mountain's restoration has officially begun. He was full of fighting spirit, although he was already middle-aged. However, his heart was unwilling to calm down. It was still beating, still bursting with vitality. In Lin Fan's eyes, these weren't repairs. They were just throwing money at it. Yuan Tianchu and Liang Yongji acted like nothing had happened. It was as if they had nothing to do with it, as if everything had nothing to do with them. This was indeed the case. Yuan Tianchu thought that his motive for coming out was to see through Lin Fan. Liang Yongqi felt like he was just waiting to die. The family didn't need him, and his father didn't need him either, so he was useless. A commoner asked, "This new sect leader, will Martial Path Mountain recruit new disciples after it reopens?" Yes, we are very good at doing things. We are very hardworking. Lin Fan scolded in his heart. Zhang Tianshan, it would be weird if you didn't go bankrupt. Even normal commoners treated you as a fool. So how could you have any achievements? To be able to last for so long, you were amazing. Zhang Tianshan said excitedly, "Guys, Martial Path Mountain has entered the renovation phase. Once it opens, naturally we will recruit disciples. Lin Fan said, "Are you the sect leader, or am I?" He just wanted to slap Zhang Tianshan to death. Could he stop talking nonsense? Sect leader, sect leader. Zhang Tianshan smiled. He was a little helpless and hadn't changed his mind. Lin Fan coughed. "It isn't impossible for all of you to enter my martial path mountain. Why not help us renovate for free? Once you enter, I will teach you martial arts. It won't be a problem for you to become experts. How about that?" As expected, when he said that, the commoners looked at Lin Fan with their mouths agape. Oh my God, he could even say such words out. Martial Path Mountain sect leader was just too shameless. Normal commoners had to be exploited and had no future. This sect had no future, and it wasn't magnanimous at all. Sect leader, we are joking. Don't take it seriously. That's right. That's right. I am really busy and don't have time to learn martial arts. The moment they heard that Martial Path Mountain had no money and they had to renovate for free, unless one was crazy, who would agree? Lin Fan shook his head. That was too practical. He was just casually saying it, and all of them were so terrified. He had never heard of recruiting disciples and giving them monthly wages. Was he teaching people or hiring them to work? Jiang City. Huang family. Back courtyard. Young master, Martial Path Mountain has reopened. That Zhang Tianshan is back. A servant hurriedly reported. A guy was practicing calligraphy there. His words were like dancing dragons and dancing phoenixes. It was a tragic sight. It was a huge accident in the calligraphy world. "Coup!" The guy hollered in rage and kept the brush. Good. The people around clapped and passed him a teacup. Young master's calligraphy has reached a high level and is at the top of the current generation. Huang Boren was delighted. The praises of the servants made him feel good. He drank some tea and then looked at the servant who hurried over. "What did you say?" "Young master, Martial Path Mountain has reopened. We found many people to repair it." The servant reported. That damn Zhang Tianshan rented Martial Path Mountain for so long. In the end, he didn't pay and just ran. Who knew where he ran to? And Huang Boren said, "What? He dares to come back and reopen it? Let's go take a look. If he doesn't pay me today, I will smash his Martial Path Mountain." He was the Huang family young master and the eldest. His father's body wasn't good and had been resting, so he was in charge of the Huang family. "Oh, by the way, frame the piece of calligraphy I just wrote." Before he left, he turned his head and instructed. He was in a good mood today. His brush was like a god, and he did it in one go. Naturally, he had to frame it so that he could admire it in the future. "Yes, young master." To Huang Boren, that Zhang Tianshan wasn't a good person. That year, they agreed that Martial Path Mountain would be rented to him, and he would pay yearly fees. At the start, he kept his promise. He gave a few years' worth of rent. But in the end, he ran and didn't pay, which infuriated Huang Boren. How could he be so untrustworthy towards one another? Martial Path Mountain. Lin Fan looked at the busy people. His heart didn't waver at all. He had no sense of belonging to Martial Path Mountain at all. Who would use it after it was repaired? In the future, he wouldn't be able to stay here. Others would benefit for nothing. He was furious. What was going on with Cousin? He wasn't like this in the past. Why did he suddenly become so dumb? Sect leader, do you see the future prosperity of Martial Path Mountain? Zhang Tianshan said. Lin Fan said, "No, I just saw my wallet slowly shrink." "Hayes, money is just an external thing, so why do you care about it? Your father gave me tens of thousands of silver. I remember that he said that money is the root of all evil. It is useless to keep it on me, and it will only add to my worries. Even now, I am unable to reach such a realm." Zhang Tianshan said. Lin Fan looked at Zhang Tianshan with a weird gaze. Was he telling him the truth? His father wasn't having a high heart realm. He was just being dumb. Chapter 112. Suddenly, a disharmonious voice spread out from the distance. "Zhang Tianshan, you actually dared to appear. I really overestimated you." Hearing those words, it wasn't a friendly one. Lin Fan looked toward Zhang Tianshan and said calmly, "He is here to find trouble with you." Zhang Tianshan's expression was a little uneasy. He knew who it was, but he didn't expect him to come so quickly. Creditor, huge creditor. Originally, he wanted to run, but what was the point in running now? No matter what, he wasn't the sect leader. At most, he was the deputy sect leader. Sect leader is a long story. Marshall Path Mountain still owes us the rent. Zhang Tianshan said. Very quickly, Huang Boren brought the servants over. Zhang Tianshan, you don't keep your word. My Huang family rented Marshall Path Mountain to you. We agreed on a price, but you just left. If you didn't pay, you could say it. But you didn't say a word and just disappeared. Don't you think you are too much? Zhang Tianshan couldn't take it anymore and laughed. Young Master Huang, it isn't what you think. It is a long story. Huang Boren said, don't talk to me about all that. I don't care. You rented my mountain, so you have to pay. Once you pay, everything has nothing to do with me. To Zhang Tianshan, that was just too heartless. At least he had to hear him finish. Lin Fan looked at him. This Huang family young master walked with the wind. He raised his head and looked really arrogant. His looks were average, and there wasn't anything outstanding about him. Overall, he was average, normal. Huang Boren shouted towards the surroundings. All stop. All of you stop. If you don't pay the rent today, then don't think about starting. When the commoners who were working saw Huang Boren, they all stopped what they were doing. This was the Jiang City Huang family young master. If they didn't listen and still started to work, wasn't that just asking for trouble? Young Master Huang, why are you doing that? Can you slow down? Zhang Tianshan said. He felt really bitter in his heart. Haze. He thought that he would be able to see Marshall Path Mountain rise up, but who knew that such a thing would happen while it was being repaired? Huang Boren waved his hand. There's no time to delay. You're a dishonest and immoral person. If you didn't have the money to pay me back then, I could still understand if you came to the Huang family and told me. But your actions are too vile. I won't believe you. Zhang Tianshan was helpless. I have no money. Shua, only to see Huang Boren take out an abacus, his fingers moving quickly, the abacus clanging. I will rent Marshall Path Mountain to you, 700 silver a year. You didn't pay for 7 years, a total of 4,900 silver. Come to the Huang family to be a servant, 5 silver a month. You have to work for the Huang family for 81 years and 6 months. You won't be able to live that long. It's fine. My Huang family will find you a wife and leave you a descendant for your descendants. My Huang family doesn't owe anyone a single cent, but others can't owe my Huang family a single cent either. Papa, Huang Boren put away the abacus and wrapped it around his waist. Zhang Tianshan's eyes opened wide and his mouth was agape. He was stunned. This is a talent, Lin Fan said. He really couldn't tell that this fellow was actually so smart at such a young age. Yuan Tianshu smiled and didn't say a word. It seemed like he guessed correctly once more. As expected, Zhang Tianshan had a problem outside. He owed so much money and couldn't pay it back. Naturally, he had to find someone to take over, and Lin Fan was the person he was looking for. Maybe next, Zhang Tianshan would push Lin Fan out and say that he was the new Marshall Path Mountain sect leader. All debts would be paid by the new sect leader. Zhang Tianshan said, Young Master Huang, that is a little vicious. Huang Boren didn't agree. What vicious? My Huang family forced you to rent, or did I place a knife on your neck and kill you if you didn't rent? If you don't have money, then move. You still drag it on. We owe you money and you still run. Touch your conscience. Who is right and who is wrong? The servants around him straightened their backs. Coming out to collect debts from Young Master was really magnanimous and comfortable. Young Master never used them. He just spoke loudly, suppressing you so much that you couldn't fight back. Zhang Tianshan knew that this Huang family young master wasn't easy to deal with. Who knew that after a few years, his words made him speechless. Liang Yongqi looked at Huang Boren. The rich family young masters in the big cities all spoke so arrogantly. However, he felt that Huang Boren didn't understand the situation. Of course, he wanted to know how Lin Fan was going to deal with it. Zhang Tianshan said, Young Master Huang, let's not talk about all this. Let me introduce you. This is the new Marshall Path Mountain sect leader Lin Fan. I am only the deputy sect leader. Don't worry, I will pay you a lot. Huang Boren looked at Lin Fan and sized him up carefully. Then, he said, how could a normal person be tricked by this guy? Let me tell you, he owes me 4,900 taels of silver. That's not a small amount. If he doesn't return it, you will. Young Master Huang, how can you say that I conned him? This is the son of someone close to me. I want Marshall Path Mountain to prosper, so I gave him my position. Zhang Tianshan said. This era wasn't easy to live in. Young people were better at talking. For example, this Huang family young master, he might be young and didn't have much skill, but in terms of money, he really knew how to calculate. Lin Fan thought about it for a moment. If you owe money, you should pay it back. No one could change that. You should head to the Huang family to be a servant. Just for 80 years, the gates of Marshall Path Mountain will always be open for you. Zhang Tianshan held his breath. Kid, I am your father's good friend. Zhang Tianshan said in disbelief. His heart felt cold. Yuan Tianshu smiled and didn't say a word. He knew that this would happen. It was impossible for that surnamed Lin to take responsibility. You told him to take over, but he wasn't a fool. He was skilled, so how could he be conned by you? Zhou Mao looked at Zhang Tianshan and shook his head. He was filled with regret. Uncle was right, but he didn't expect it to be so tragic. His uncle had told him something before he left. Zhang Tianshan was his good friend, and he knew his roots. He might not have been doing well, but to him, no matter how bad he was, it was good to have a Marshall Path Mountain. After all, when he was young, he left him so much silver. How would he expect that? Zhang Tianshan would have squandered all that silver. Marshall Path Mountain was a bottomless hole, and the monthly salary given to the disciples was an astronomical figure. It wasn't easy for him to last until now. Zhou Mao walked in front of Huang Boren and took in a deep breath. His body gave out a cracking sound like his muscles were expanding. His expression slowly changed. Huang Boren looked at the seemingly simple and honest, but actually a little terrifying man. What do you want to do? If you owe money, you should pay it back. Money is money. Martial strength is martial strength. The two can't be talked about together. It is impossible for you to use martial strength to conquer me. My Huang family ancestor taught that 1 is 1, 2 is 2. If you owe money, then pay it back. If you want to hit me, then you have to pay it back first. Talent. Lin Fan opened his mouth. Cousin, back off. If he didn't appear, it would be tough to solve this matter. This fellow in front of him, he was also a talent. P.S. It will be sold at noon tomorrow. Everyone support him. Chapter 1:13. This is the 6th time my book has been published, and it's also the 6th time I've written a comment. I don't know what to write, but I still have to write something. Many things happened in the past 18 years. Her son, Wang Zai, was born. She was under a lot of pressure, so she could only work hard to write. It will be published at noon on the 22nd. I hope that everyone will keep your monthly votes and spend them on me like crazy tomorrow. Thank you for your support during the public period. My goal for the past 19 years is very simple. I hope that I can rely on this book to attract 10 female readers. I think it shouldn't be a problem for female readers to join the group. After all, this book doesn't have any fireworks. Group ID 5344 4233. 1. As for the issue of updating, I usually update 4 times a day after it's published, with a total of 12,000 words. But for this book, I want to work harder. I hope to break through 12,000 words. It would be best if I could reach 20,000 words a day. Hee. Afternoon, everyone, don't forget to subscribe and vote for me. A newly published book really needs support. All right, I'll go write and try my best to update tomorrow. Chapter 1:14. The current Huang Boren was someone who didn't care about anything at all. It was still the same sentence. Return money. Return money. Return money. To Huang Boren, anyone who owed money was a big boss. He ran right away and didn't even have a place to find him. Zhang Tianshan rented his mountain, and he owed him for so many years. That was trust. Who knew that trust was fed to dogs? Yuan Tianshu felt that this matter wasn't so easy to solve. If he didn't pay up, Marshall Path Mountain definitely wouldn't be able to be repaired. But if he did, he wouldn't have money to repair Marshall Path Mountain. That was a really problematic matter. Lin Fan walked in front of Huang Boren. Young Master Huang, let's talk. Huang Boren looked at Lin Fan and felt that this person wasn't like Zhang Tianshan. He nodded his head and walked to the side. Brother, let's be honest. No matter what, we have to pay up. My Huang family does business with fairness and honesty. We don't cheat people, but we won't be cheated either. I understand. Lin Fan replied. Zhang Tianshan saw the two of them talking in secret and wanted to know what they were talking about. This matter was a little complicated. Huang Boren wasn't easy to deal with. If he didn't return the 4,900 silver to him, he definitely wouldn't leave this place. Marshall Path Mountain had already started to be repaired, but who knew that this would happen? If he knew, he would have changed to another mountain. Lin Fan said, Young Master Huang, do I look like a normal person? Huang Boren was slightly stunned and sized him up. Looking at your aura, you really aren't a normal person. But even if your aura isn't normal, you still have to pay up. Lin Fan was a little helpless. This fellow was so stubborn, but it seemed like it worked. He was so stubborn. He had to pay up, and nothing else was important. He pointed at Zhang Tianshan and said, Look at him. Does he look like someone who can pay up? Huang Boren looked over. Truthfully, he didn't look like someone who could pay up. If he could, then he wouldn't have dragged it until now. Zhang Tianshan noticed that the two of them were looking at him. He pinched his goatee and revealed his confidence. He also gave off the aura of a hidden expert. Maybe the sect leader was praising him. Therefore, he had to cooperate well. It doesn't look like it, but he still has to pay it back. I have already thought about it. He will come to my Huang family to be his servant. His descendants will be there until he pays it back. Huang Boren said. Seeing how arrogant Zhang Tianshan was, Lin Fan didn't want to say anything more. He had no self-awareness at all. Damn it, he owed him so much money. He had lived half his life in vain. Lin Fan said, Brother Huang, do you know that if you let him become a servant of the Huang family, you will be inviting a wolf into the house? Who knows, maybe in a few decades, the Huang family will be surnamed Zhang. Don't think that I'm just trying to scare you. Anything can happen. His looks aren't bad. The Huang clan has arranged marriages, and their descendants can be either male or female. No one can say for sure. If the man is extraordinarily handsome, and the woman is as beautiful as a flower, devastatingly beautiful, do you think your descendants will be able to control themselves? Even if he married into the family, then your Huang family will be infiltrated by his descendants. Think about it. Is there such a possibility? This was the first time Huang Boren had heard such an analysis. He nodded his head. There was such a possibility. He was a businessman, and anything that happened in business was hard to predict. The word strange did not come from nowhere. He had witnessed it many times. There is such a possibility, but he still has to pay it back. Huang Boren said. Lin Fan said, Brother Huang, I see that you are a businessman. Do you want to earn money? Huang Boren said, Yes, but I still have to pay it back. Damn it, couldn't this fellow not say those words? Everyone knew that they had to pay, but it was pointless to keep saying it. Lin Fan said, I have a business here right now. Brother Huang, are you willing to give it a try? No, just pay it back. Huang Boren shook his head. Lin Fan was a little tired. If he owed money, then he had to pay it back. He was a reasonable person, so how was he like those reckless people? Then, there's nothing to talk about. You should bring him back to Huang family to be his servant. There is no need for Marshall Path Mountain. Just treat your 4,900 silver as a waste. Since that was the case, then there was nothing to talk about. Wait, Huang Boren still wanted to get the money back. Previously, he had said that it would be a loss to make the other party a servant of the Huang family. Tell me what kind of business it is first. He was influenced by his family's way of doing business, and his grasp of the timing to earn money was accurate. He listened to his theory and considered whether or not to implement it. Lin Fan said, Do you know why Marshall Path Mountain closed? Huang Boren hit the nail on the head. Of course I do. We recruited too many disciples and didn't have our own business. So how could we support the monthly allowance of the disciples? If Marshall Path Mountain didn't close, who else would? And that makes sense. You know that I am the new sect leader and am prepared to reform, but I lack funds. I see that Brother Huang is a smart person, and naturally your eyes are unique. If it was someone else, I wouldn't say much as they wouldn't understand. They wouldn't understand what my reform was. Brother Huang, can you understand? Lin Fan said. Huang Boren didn't reply. He was someone who liked to be praised. Unique eyes? Smart person? That was indeed him, but if he said that he couldn't understand, didn't that mean that he had no eyes and wasn't a smart person? He couldn't do that. He definitely couldn't do that. Huang Boren nodded. I can understand. Understand what? Really? Why didn't he say what method it was? He didn't even say it, and he wanted him to understand. Helpless, he was really helpless. Lin Fan said, why don't Brother Huang take a gamble? Marshall Path Mountain has just started, so continue to inject funds. Maybe in the future, Marshall Path Mountain will become the top sect within 1,000,000 miles. When that happens, Brother Huang will earn a lot. Come over. At that moment, Lin Fan waved towards the servant beside Huang Boren. That servant was shocked, but he still walked in front of Lin Fan. Let me ask you, if I asked you to inject funds into Marshall Path Mountain, would you be willing? Lin Fan asked. The servant said, of course not. Who would be willing to take such a loss? You can leave. Lin Fan said. Then, more servants were called over. Lin Fan asked the same question. He wanted them to inject funds into Marshall Path Mountain and that there would be huge returns in the future. He just asked if they were willing or not. It was obvious. These servants shook their heads and definitely wouldn't agree. With Marshall Path Mountain's current situation, only a fool would agree. Huang Boren looked at Lin Fan. His expression was really obvious, like he was saying that even my servant said it wasn't reliable, so there was nothing he could do. Even if he knew, even the servant said it wasn't reliable, so how could he think that it was reliable? Lin Fan said, Brother Huang, do you see anything? Huang Boren nodded. I see. He really wanted to say that he really saw through it. He definitely couldn't inject funds in a Marshall Path Mountain. Otherwise, he would lose so much that he wouldn't even have his underwear left. Even the servant could see through it. So if he couldn't, then wouldn't he be blind? Lin Fan said, that's right. With their eyes, they can only see that investing in Marshall Path Mountain isn't a good thing. But people with foresight like Brother Huang will have a different view. So, Brother Huang is a young master, and they can only be servants. Oh my God. Huang Boren opened his eyes wide. Those words made sense. He looked at those servants. From the beginning until now, not a single servant had said anything in agreement. He noticed that Lin Fan was staring at him. It was like he noticed someone else. Your view is unique, Huang Boren said. Lin Fan chuckled. Young noble Huang, it's not that my views are unique. It's because I'm an outstanding person, and young noble Huang is also an outstanding person. That's why I'm telling you all this. After all, if I were to tell those commoners, they wouldn't understand. Foresight decides everything. What do you think? He tossed the topic back to Huang Boren. Lin Fan didn't believe that with his ability, he wouldn't be convinced. If you're that good, then he would admit that his foresight wasn't good. If he didn't invest in Marshall Path Mountain, then he would just move. Whoever wanted to stay in this place could stay. At that moment, Huang Boren was in deep thought. He was forced into a corner. Lin Fan had already said such words. What else could he say? Suddenly, he thought of an old matter from the Huang family. The reason why the Huang family ancestor rose up was a mysterious story. Back then, the ancestor of the Huang family was also a landlord with some wealth in the area. After the chaos of war, the ancestor of the Huang family in the central imperial city was a small force within a group of forces. He was basically an existence that was swallowed up by others. However, his ancestor only met the general of that small power once and spoke a few words. He actually used his entire family's wealth to support him. The situation was like this. The small power turned around and wiped out the other large powers, which were several times stronger than them, to complete the unification. As the Huang family had the merit of becoming a dragon, they were conferred nobles. However, after 100 years, the Huang family didn't have anyone as capable as their ancestor and declined. However, there was still a rich aristocratic family in Jiang City. How annoying. He felt like he had a choice. It wasn't that he was dumb. It was just that the other party's words were very reasonable, and his heart was slightly moved. That was indeed the case. Especially that sentence, slaves can only be slaves. The reason was because there was a problem with their worldview. Huang Boren was in deep thought. Should he give a try? If he succeeded, he would have huge gains. If he failed, it wouldn't be a huge loss, and he could still take it. Lin Fan looked calmly at Huang Boren. His eyes didn't waver at all. This was the important moment, and he couldn't be anxious. To him, Huang Boren was stubborn, but that didn't mean that he was dumb. Instead, he was really smart. Most importantly, and what he admired, was the fact that he dared to try. As long as he dared to try, then this matter would be stable. What did he want in life? Naturally, to eat and wait to die. He could eat and wait to die in Yu City, but he had a father who would urge him to get married. He was also spurring him on, so his life wasn't as he wished. However, as long as Marshall Path Mountain was on the right track and he was the sect leader, then his days would be great. Who was the big brother? He was the big brother. Who would do things? Of course, he would do it. When he had nothing to do, he would look at the mountains, drink tea, walk around Jiang City, wave his hands, and a bunch of brothers would charge forwards. He didn't even need to do anything himself. He just needed to spend some effort at the start. Chapter 115. He had such a dream. Lin Fan felt like he had to work hard. Huang Boren nodded his head. Your words make sense. That is indeed the case. I am willing to take the risk. He thought about it for a long time. He could take the risk. If he really suffered a loss, then he would accept it. Lin Fan was gratified. It wasn't easy to convince this fella. Zhang Tianxian's situation made him feel helpless. He couldn't figure out. Did his father send him here to gain experience or to help his old friend? Brother Lin, I will invest 5,000 silver. I won't take the rent for 7 years. Once we gain something, then you can return it to me. How about that? Huang Boren said. This was already a huge sum. 5,000 silver wasn't a small sum. Normal people couldn't earn it in their entire lives. Deal. In the future, you won't regret your choice today. Lin Fan said. Huang Boren brought many bills with him. He didn't use them to invest, but to buy his life. As the Jiang City Huang family young master, his life was precious. Some people would take the risk to kidnap him. This was why it was best to bring some money with him. At that moment, Huang Boren passed the bills to Lin Fan. This is 5,000 silver. I will talk to you about the rest in a few days. You have to be serious when you do business. If not, when you earn money in the future, you won't know. Lin Fan said, okay, no problem. I like such serious people. Zhang Tianxian looked at the scenes in the distance without blinking. When he saw Huang Boren take out money and pass it to Lin Fan, he was shocked. Damn, what happened? Not only did they not pay, but Huang Boren actually took out money? Could it be that this kid was threatening him? That was too bold. Yuan Tianchu frowned in deep thought. What was going on? What did Lin Fan say to him? Huang Boren came to ask for money, but in the end, why did he take it out himself? The problem here was a little complicated. With his brain, he actually couldn't understand it. Lin Fan and Huang Boren were having a good conversation. This was great. He didn't need to pay for the money needed to repair Marshall Path Mountain. Jiang City young Master Huang was really generous, taking out 5,000 silver right away. This money was enough to repair Marshall Path Mountain from head to tail. In the future, their lives would be much better. Sect leader, what did you talk about with young Master Huang? Zhang Tianshan asked. He couldn't wait to find out. He was very curious. Talk about what? They must be talking about those things about you. Talk about what? Young Master Huang took out 5,000 silver to invest in Marshall Path Mountain. Lin Fan said. Zhang Tianshan opened his eyes wide. Amazing. He didn't expect Lin Fan to trick Huang Boren into investing in Marshall Path Mountain. Amazing, truly amazing. Only now did he realize that if Lin Wani was so amazing, then how bad could his son be? Yuan Tianchu quietly eavesdropped. But he didn't manage to eavesdrop on any substantive content. Investment? 5,000 taels? Oh my god. This was too F**king fake. The way he looked at Lin Fan had changed. He thought that he could see through Lin Fan, but he still couldn't. To be able to persuade the other party in such a situation and even make the other party take the initiative to fork out money, it was hard to not be impressed by his capability. Cousin, why did you stand in front of young Master Huang just now? You must remember, strength can only make people submit, not willingly. Lin Fan chided. Huang Boren said, even if it is strength, I won't submit. Lin Fan patted Huang Boren's shoulder. Young Master Huang is outstanding and a person with principles. Naturally, he won't submit to strength. Brother Lin too. Huang Boren said, there's no need to call me young Master Huang. It is a little too formal. Just call me Brother Huang. In the future, I am a part of Martial Path Mountain. I hope that Brother Lin can do this well and let me see returns. Of course. However, investments are risky. Brother Huang, remember that. Lin Fan said. Now, he was just saying the ugly words out front. He didn't lie. It was a reasonable investment with risks. If he really lost money, then he couldn't blame anyone. Huang Boren looked toward Zhang Tianshan and said, you need to learn from Brother Lin. Running away when you owe money, you have no future. He cupped his fists. Brother Lin, then I won't disturb you. When Martial Path Mountain opens, inform me, and I will come over to congratulate you. Okay. Then, Huang Boren brought the servants and left. Damn, this kid's words are just so bad. What do you mean I have no future? I can even be his father. He doesn't respect me. Zhang Tianshan was unhappy. Lin Fan was lazy to say more. Now, he really felt that his father must have known that his unreliable friend was doing too badly, so he asked him to come and help. Martial Path Mountain. He was filled with hope. But when he saw the truth, he knew that the hope was actually fear. Stop talking nonsense and let them work. Keep a close eye on them and don't let them fish in troubled waters. Lin Fan said, what if the rich family young master's life was gone forever? There was only one way, which was to slowly revive Martial Path Mountain and become a sect leader who just ate and waited to die. On the way down, young master, why do you want to invest in Martial Path Mountain? This deal is obviously a loss. A servant asked. If other aristocratic family servants asked such sensitive questions, their legs would have been broken. But the Huang family was different. Their family believed that a single person couldn't compare to a group of people. This was why when they made a decision, they allowed the servants to ask about business matters. When Huang Boren heard that, if it was before, he might have said that it was indeed a loss. But in his mind, he recalled what Lin Fan said to him. The reason why they were servants was because they saw what everyone else could see. They weren't able to see deeper things. Those words made sense. Why didn't he notice it in the past? Huang Boren said, because what he said makes sense. On the surface, Martial Path Mountain is a loss. But if it is a profitable business, then we wouldn't wait for people to invest. My Huang family does business like that. As long as it makes sense, even if it is a loss, we will do it. But if it doesn't make sense and is a loss, then the investment would be a waste. The servant clapped. Young master is amazing. We can only worship you. Huang Boren smiled and nodded. All of you have many things to learn. He was such a confident person, especially after receiving compliments. His confidence was off the charts. The sun set in the west. The commoners on Martial Path Mountain left one by one. Huang Boren's investment was injecting fresh blood into Martial Path Mountain. Of course, this wasn't important to Lin Fan. His heart wasn't on whether or not Martial Path Mountain could become strong, but whether or not he could have such a leisurely life when Martial Path Mountain became strong. The environment in the room changed. However, it still wasn't at the level that Lin Fan wanted. Just his current dressing didn't show off the special aura of a young master. Small support system column. Rage points, 7823. It hadn't grown in a long time. Now that he was outside, he felt a little pressure. He still had to improve it. He thought about it for a moment. Got it. He spent 3,500 rage points. Lightning Blade, 4 strokes, reach perfection, consumed 4,000 rage points. Lightning Blade 4 strokes. Reach the peak. Right now, he only wanted to raise 2 out of the 3 techniques. Thunderblade 4 styles. Motionless Bright King Body and Mixed Yuan Broken Jade Hand to the Return to True Realm. Among which, Lightning Blade 4 strokes could be refreshed with either Unmovable King Body or Mixed Energy Broken Jade Hand. When he raised Lightning Blade 4 strokes to the Reach the Peak, his understanding of the blade path became deeper, as expected from the small support system. Although it wasn't overpowered enough, at least he could survive in this world. You City. Lin Wani was reading in the reading room. After reading for a while, he left the room and walked to the window. He looked at the night scenery outside, and a look of deep thought appeared on his face. Old Master, do you miss young Master? Old Wu asked. Lin Wani sighed. How can I not miss him? My only son is outside and can't take care of himself. If he causes trouble outside, no one will help him. He might have been spurring Lin Fan on. Actually, he cared about him and hoped that this unfilial kid could become a talent. Even if he didn't, at least he could become a human. Now that he had to send this kid away, he missed him a lot. Old Wu said, Don't worry, old Master. Young Master is so smart and will be fine outside. Lin Wani nodded his head. He could only think that way. How is the barrier? Old Wu said solemnly. Old Master, the situation isn't optimistic. There is energy seeping out and changing the environment. It is not far from exploding. Scoff, this time I will go all out against them. Lin Wani's eyes shone viciously like he had a deep hatred for them. If they also had a small support system, his rage would probably reach the max morning. Go. Z carried a basin in and served him like how he did at Lin Manor. There were noises outside. The commoners came early to repair Marshall Path Mountain. In a week, Marshall Path Mountain would be able to shine and return to its peak state. Lin Fan brought Go Z to patrol Marshall Path Mountain. Zhang Tianxin's face was filled with joy and radiance. He was looking forward to a good life in the future. Lin Fan wanted to know what was left of Marshall Path Mountain. He asked and found out that there was nothing left. As for the most crucial Marshall Path techniques, to open a sect, there was none. Of course, there were some. Zhang Tianxian took out a few books. They were all normal cultivation techniques. Lin Fan was so furious that he wanted to scold him. You scammer. Just these few techniques, how could you open a sect? If you didn't close down, who would? Haze. Zhang Tianxian acted like he was innocent. Like he was saying that he couldn't open a sect just because he didn't have any techniques. Then how did he open it for those decades? What a joke. Foot of the mountain. A muscular man brought a bunch of people who looked like servants. They raised their heads and looked towards Marshall Path Mountain. Marshall Path Mountain reopened and didn't come to our Chun family to pay a visit. Young Master is furious and wants us to teach them a lesson, to teach that Zhang Tianshan a lesson. The muscular man was the Chun family martial arts teacher. His surname was Li and his name was Kong. His name was a little vulgar, but he wasn't an ordinary person. Yes, teacher. Of course, our young master is unhappy. Who cares if Huang born invested or not? We have to teach them a lesson. Zhang Tianshan was easy to bully. When Zhang Tianshan was the sect leader, they weren't Chun family servants, but they had heard of it. As long as one had some ability and entered Marshall Path Mountain, one would be an old master. Zhang Tianshan didn't dare to offend him. One would even treat them like a master. Just thinking about how the Marshall Path Mountain sect leader treated them made them excited. Chapter 116. Kid, don't look at Marshall Path Mountain situation. If it really develops, there will be many benefits. Zhang Tianshan told Lin Fan about how good Marshall Path Mountain was. He really had feelings for Marshall Path Mountain. A lifetime of youth was spent here. Just smelling the scent here made him feel relaxed and relaxed. Suddenly, there was a commotion and it sounded a little arrogant. Oi, 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 you come over? Lin Fan walked over. Who was it to be so arrogant? Marshall Path Mountain hadn't even opened, and they came to challenge him. They really didn't hold him in any regard. This voice, Zhang Tianshan frowned. The voice was familiar like he had heard it before. Outside, the commoners who came to work put down what they were doing. They looked at the arrogant fellow standing at the entrance, and all of them recognized him. That was the Chun family martial arts teacher. Li Kong Chun family wasn't easy to offend. Based on what they knew, Chun family used to be bandits. Even if they were clean now, they had a huge connection with the Wolf Ditch stronghold around Jiang City. Or rather, that Wolf Ditch stronghold was a bandit nest that Chun family supported. "It's you." Zhang Tianshan looked at the person and recognized right away. It was the Chun family martial arts teacher. He was a little strong. He was also really overbearing. He was a crude person who didn't give face. In the past, when Martial Path Mountain was still there, he would come to Martial Path Mountain to find trouble with him. And he was helpless. All the disciples on Martial Path Mountain knew that he was the Chun family martial arts teacher. They were afraid of the Chun family. This was why it was tough for him to be the sect leader. He had to say nice things to them and coax them. Sometimes he would lose face, but thinking about Martial Path Mountain, he bore with it. After all, no matter who it was, when they worked hard to realize their dreams, they would face some resistance. As long as they could overcome it, then they would be the strongest. Zhang Tianshan said, "Kid, this is the Jiang City Chun family martial arts teacher. You need to pay attention and not offend him. Chun family is as strong as the Huang family, but they are really evil. You have to be careful." Yuan Tian and Chu Li were far away. This had nothing to do with him. He knew that things weren't so simple. Leaving Yu City was dangerous. A small martial arts teacher was so arrogant. If this was in Yu City, he would teach him a lesson. However, forget it now. He didn't have that ability. "Brother Liang, don't get too close. Be careful of the shockwaves," Yuan Tianchu reminded. Liang Yongqi said, "He dares to hit me?" Yuan Tianchu shook his head. With Liang Yongqi's attitude, he would definitely suffer. "I don't dare to hit you. Outside, people dare to kill you, and you didn't even dare to say a word." Li Tsung's face was ferocious, and he had a thick beard. His gaze was fierce. "What kind of tone is that? Zhang Tianshan, did you become stronger? You dare to speak to me like that? I heard that your Martial Path Mountain reopened, so why didn't you come to Chun family to greet my young master? Is my young master not good enough for you? Or are you getting arrogant?" The servants behind him puffed out their chests and stared at Zhang Tianshan aggressively. It was as if he would beat him up if he dared to be impudent. "Teacher Li, what do you mean by that? When did I, Zhang Tianshan, do that?" Zhang Tianshan said. Lin Fan didn't say anything. He was sad, not for himself, but for Zhang Tianshan. "Uncle, are you really my father's friend? My father is such a fierce person. Even if you are weak, you should be a little stronger." He established Martial Path Mountain. As the sect leader, he was actually bullied by a family's teacher. Did he even have any face? Looking at the situation, you really took it in. Li Tsung scoffed coldly. "You didn't get arrogant? If you didn't, then why didn't you come to Chen family? You even worked with Huang family. You don't care about our Chun family at all." Zhang Tianshan wanted to say something, but Lin Fan stopped him. Let me. He really couldn't take it anymore. No matter what, since Zhang Tianshan was his father's friend, he couldn't just ignore this matter. Not only did Zhang Tianshan lose face, even his father was humiliated. When other people said, "Oh, he was Zhang Tianshan's friend," it sounded weird to others. Lin Fan walked in front of Li Tsung. "I am the new Martial Path Mountain sect leader. Who are you? Shouting so early in the morning. Is there something wrong with you? Or is your face itchy?" Rage points plus 66. Li Tsung was instantly furious. Arrogant. The kid in front of him was really arrogant. Didn't he ask around about Li Tsung's status in Rivertown and how strong he was? He didn't say much else. His strength was one of the top in Jiang City. Now a kid dared to behave so arrogantly in front of him. He was just asking to die. Martial Path Grade 6, do you understand? That was a terrifying strength. He spent a total of 20 years to reach the 6th stage of the Martial Path. Even so, he considered himself a genius. No one helped him, and no resources were given to him. He relied on 20 years of hard work. "You dare to speak to me like that? I am the Chun family teacher. I will give you a chance to apologize. If not, with so many people looking, I will make things difficult for you." Li Tsung hollered in rage. Those commoners shivered. That was Li Kong, a terrifying person. They panicked a little. If this new Marshall Path Mountain sect leader was killed by someone, then who would they ask for their wages from? Don't die. Don't die. The commoners prayed. If they died, then they wouldn't get any money. Zhou Zhongmao couldn't take it. He dared to speak to his cousin like that. Then he had to die. He didn't care about the Chen family or the instructor. He was rude to his cousin, and his fist would make him eat dirt. However, he was a little too slow. Lin Fan raised his hand and instantly slapped down. Pa! Chen family? Pa! Teacher? Pa! Arrogant? Pa! Difficult? Pa! Where is he? That slap didn't make a sound, and it hit empty air. As for that voice, cousin made it up. Perhaps because he saw that his cousin's goal was not achieved, he decided to dub for his cousin. Li Tsong sat on the ground, covering his face and looking at Lin Fan in disbelief. Rage points plus 222. You dare to hit me? Li Tsong really didn't believe that someone actually dared to touch him. Damn, did that mean that Chun family's name couldn't suppress these people? Lin Fan kicked and directly knocked Li Tsong out. He was really drunk. What was going on? He didn't even know who it was and came to Marshall Path Mountain to shout. His head hurt. There were many things to do recently, and now this happened. Annoyed, he was really annoyed. Li Tsong felt really dizzy. His will was dissipating, and he was shouting in his heart. He couldn't faint. He really couldn't faint. He was a Marshall Path Grade 6 expert, and his strength hadn't exploded out yet. Pa-ta! Li Tsong's head smacked onto the ground, and he fainted. The servants who followed opened their mouths, and their faces were filled with shock. Rage points plus 11. Rage points plus 11. He obtained a total of 110 rage points. How useless. Based on the calculations of the small support system, the presence of the servants was actually much higher than that of commoners. Was it because of the family? Scram, if you come again, I will break your 5 limbs. Lin Fan scolded. The Chen family servants carried the instructor and ran away. They ran too quickly, and they ate dirt. Who cared how much? They just ran. Marshall Path Mountain was going to defy the heavens. They were going to fight. Wasn't the teacher really amazing? Why was he so weak today? He didn't even attack, and he fainted. He was just too useless. He even brought them out to find trouble, and they were nearly beaten up. Zhang Tianxian felt really good. Preposterous. Who asked them to be so arrogant? They were beaten up by the new sect leader. However, he was a little worried. Sect leader, you are too rash. Chun family can't be offended. We need to be low profile outside. He knew Lin Fan's position in Yu City. However, now that he was outside, he couldn't act like he was in his own territory. Lin Wani told him to take care of his kid, so he had to. He couldn't let anything happen to him. Low profile? I want to, but my strength doesn't allow me. What do you want me to do? Lin Fan said. Zhou Zhongmao hurried forwards. Cousin, does your hand hurt? His skin is a little rough, so it definitely hurts. Lin Fan said, It is okay, but his beard is a little prickly. If he dares to come again, I will shave his beard. If there is such a thing next time, leave it to me. Zhou Zhongmao said. Lin Fan didn't think about killing these people who came to cause trouble. There was no point in killing them. Although he didn't give much rage points, it lasted for a long time. However, after this matter, he noticed that the power structure in Jiang City was a little complicated. Those families definitely weren't harmonious. There were often open and hidden battles. Their relationship was good. With battles, he could gain rage points. Jiang City. The Chun family servants carried Li Tsong and ran around the streets. Out of the way, out of the way! The commoners around looked on curiously. When they realized that Li Tsong had fainted, they were shocked. What happened? Li Tsong was the Chun family teacher, and usually he was really domineering. No one dared to offend him. Even those vendors were terrified when they saw Li Kong. They wanted to find a hole to hide in. Thus, when they saw Li Tsong, their first thought was that he was taught a lesson. Heaven's earth. Finally, they opened their eyes. A bunch of servants carried the pig-like Li Tsong and charged in. They shouted, Not good, young master, something happened. A blade flew out from who knows where and stabbed into the chest of the servant who shouted. Pucci! That servant lowered his head and looked at the blade in his chest. His eyes were filled with shock. I just shouted, "Where did the blade come from?" My hand slipped while practicing martial arts. Chun family young master took a towel and wiped the sweat off his forehead. He then pulled out the blade. Fresh blood flowed out from the servant's chest. It couldn't be stopped, and the ground was dyed red. Pong! The servant fell to the ground and couldn't get up. Before he died, he wanted to roar, "Young master, even if your hand slipped, you can't stab me to death." Chun Xingyao turned a blind eye to the dead servant and asked, "What's going on with him?" The servants' faces turned ashen white. No one dared to reply. The way young master held the blade was really terrifying. They were afraid that if they opened their mouths, young master would chop them to death. Thus, all of a sudden, no one spoke. Chapter 117. In. Chun Shengyao exclaimed, his brows furrowing. Even his servant was so courageous. How could he not answer his question? Suddenly, Li Tsong showed signs of waking up, and then he slowly opened his eyes. "Where am I?" His brain was a little stunned. It was obvious that his head was buzzing from the beating. Instantly, he recalled, "I was beaten up by that so-called new sect leader at Marshall Path Mountain." This wasn't Marshall Path Mountain. A person appeared in front of him, and when he saw who it was, he cried out, "Young master, save me. That Marshall Path Mountain is so arrogant." I listened to young master's instructions to find Zhang Tianshan, but who knew that he didn't care about young master at all? Also, that new sect leader actually dared to hit me. Ouch! My face is still hurting. My head is still buzzing. Oh no, my brain is broken. "Young master, you have to help me." Li Tsong was the Chun family teacher, Marshall Path Grade 6, but who knew that he was so useless. He was beaten up so simply and actually cried out like that. Chun Xingyao squinted his eyes. Zhang Tianshan doesn't have the guts, but the new sect leader seems to have some ability. He actually cooperated with Huangborn. "You're at Marshall Path Grade 6, but you're not his match?" Li Tsong was unhappy. "Young master, how can I not be his match? I didn't expect him to sneak attack. He didn't care about Chin family at all, and when I wasn't paying attention, he succeeded. You can ask them, they all saw it." The servants nodded their heads. "Young master, Teacher Li is right. That fellow did sneak attack. With Teacher Li's cultivation, how could he not be his match? He was sneak attacked." What else could they say? Naturally, they had to help Teacher Li. If not, he would find trouble with them. Li Tsong was furious. Bastard. He actually sneak attacked him. With his Marshall Path Grade 6 cultivation, he would beat the SH*T out of him. Chun Xingyao thought about it. He didn't expect Marshall Path Mountain to change. After learning that Zhang Tianshan reopened Marshall Path Mountain and even worked with Huang Boren, naturally, he was unhappy, so he sent Li Tsong to find trouble. Who knew that Li Tsong would be beaten up? To him, Zhang Tianshan didn't have the courage. Only the new sect leader had such courage. Interesting. How interesting. It seemed like if he had the chance, he would have to meet this new Marshall Path Mountain sect leader to see where he came from. Even in a place like Rivertown, he was still so arrogant. Even a dragon would have to bow down to this young master. As expected of a bandit family, their descendants all had a strong bandit aura. Marshall Path Mountain. Lin Fan obtained 688 rage points. It was obvious that this fellow woke up and was furious, contributing some rage points to him. However, it was too little, so he didn't really like it. But it was okay. He could take it slow. There were still days to come. At this moment, he noticed that Yuan Tianchu and Liang Yongji were sitting there, chatting leisurely. They didn't seem to have any intentions of helping. This made him feel a little uncomfortable. Some people can't be wasted. It would be a waste not to use it. What are you two doing? If you are free, go take a look at what they're doing. If you stay in Marshall Path Mountain, I can't raise you for nothing. You all have to work. Lin Fan said. Yuan Tianchu was much calmer and didn't clash with Lin Fan. He knew how terrifying Lin Fan was. If he was not careful, he would step into a conspiracy. Just like what he said, in the entire Marshall Path Mountain, there weren't many people who weren't scheming. Of course, Liang Yongji was one. He was a fool and deserved to be chased out of the Liang family. Liang Yongji said, "If we all do things, then what about you?" Lin Fan smiled. "Have you seen any sect leader do things?" Damn. The moment he said that, Yuan Tianchu and Liang Yongji were annoyed. Based on what? Just because he was a sect leader, he could do whatever he wanted and not do anything? Needless to say, that was the case. He could indeed do whatever he wanted. Especially Liang Yongji, he was filled with regret. If he knew that this would happen, even if he had to die, he would have stayed in U City. He didn't want to come out, but it was too late. He was already out, so what else could he say? He had no choice. The two of them could only go to work. Actually, they didn't do any heavy work, just to supervise. King Wudong City, a stone quarry. Zhu Xiang's hair was disheveled and his face was covered in dust. He had been working here for several days. He knew that he was cheated. Lu Xian didn't accept him at all and sent him here to dig stones to die on his own. He had only been here for a few days, but he had already seen many people die from exhaustion. He roared in his heart. He couldn't die. He definitely couldn't die here. However, it was just too difficult to leave this place. This place was heavily guarded. Every place was guarded, obviously to prevent them from escaping. At that moment, the soldiers guarding this place walked over with a person. That person wore armor, but his status was much higher than the soldiers here. "Find me some strong laborers." He came here to find soldiers. Now that they lacked soldiers, they needed fresh blood. It was too problematic to recruit from the outside, and they had to pay the troops. It was really worth it to find them from here. They were directly cannon fodder. I didn't need to be paid. Zhu Xiang had cultivation, and his ears were sharp. When he heard that, he instantly felt hope. He definitely couldn't stay here. He had been looking for a chance to head out. Today, his chance was here. He didn't say a word, directly filling the basket with stones. It was really full, and some even popped out. Just this basket was at least 100 to 200 kilograms. Zhu Xiang didn't dare to make it too heavy. If he made it too heavy, then it wasn't something that a strong person could do. It was obvious that he had cultivated before. Why would someone who cultivated before come here? Lu Xian wanted him to die. Naturally, he couldn't let Lu Xian know that he could come out from here. This was why he had to hide it. He carried the basket and purposely walked past the two of them. As expected, the armored male raised his hand and pointed at Zhu Xiang. "Count him in, carrying so many stones, he is really strong." The person who accompanied him looked at Zhu Xiang and was a little helpless. Damn, why did he carry so much? Luckily, he was seen. He didn't want anyone from the stone field to be chosen. "If you recruit soldiers, then I won't have anyone here. If I don't have enough people, then I won't be able to complete the mission. I will be punished." What a waste. A higher official could crush someone, much less someone several ranks higher. Even if he didn't want to, he had to agree. Zhu Xiang didn't show any expression. This was the first step. He was still far from his final goal, but he knew that as long as he worked hard and could bear with it, he definitely wouldn't fail. Martial Path Mountain Waste. Zhou Zhongmao stood on the steps like a giant. He looked into the distance and didn't move at all. Cousin was now on Martial Path Mountain, so he had to protect him. Martial Path Mountain was indeed good. There was only one path up, and as long as he guarded here, there would be no problems. At that moment, Chen Xingyao came to Martial Path Mountain. Li Tsong was beaten up on Martial Path Mountain. To Chen Xingyao, naturally, he couldn't take it. Who could be so arrogant? Of course. He came today to see what kind of person the new Martial Path Mountain sect leader was, not to attack. Very quickly, they met Zhou Zhongmao. To them, Zhou Zhongmao blocking the path was just an eyesore. Chen Xingyao walked in front of Zhou Zhongmao and teased, "Dumb guy, scram to the side, I want a pa." A gust of wind blew past. The servants who followed Chen Xingyao opened their eyes wide and didn't dare to blink. What happened? Where did that wind come from? Where was young master? He was just standing in front of them. How did he disappear in the blink of an eye? At that moment, a servant looked around, searching for the young master. When he saw the figure hanging on a tree not too far away, he cried out in an exaggerated and terrified manner, "Young master." Everyone looked in the direction of the voice. Their faces turned ashen white. How did this happen? Why did young master run to the tree branch? No one dared to stay, running to save young master. At the same time, some servants turned their heads and scolded in fear. You are finished. Do you know who he is? Your Marshall Path Mountain is finished. After a Herculean effort, they finally rescued the young master. However, young master was unconscious, his limbs were hanging down, and he spat out bubble from his mouth. Who knew whether or not he was dead? Dumb. Zhou Mao took a look and didn't care much. He still stood there like a statue, protecting Marshall Path Mountain, protecting the cousin in his heart. Jiang City. Move aside. Move aside. The servants carried Chen Shengyao and ran. The commoners around were stunned. What kind of weird thing was happening today? Li Tsong was carried back by a servant. So why was Chun family young master carried back not long later? What kind of fierce beast was outside to actually be so terrifying? Very quickly, people spread the news in the city. Chun family young master was frightened by a beast outside. When everyone heard that, they were shocked. Was that true? Chun family young master Chen Shengyao was frightened by a beast and fainted. That was just impossible. Shortly after, the more it spread, the more exaggerated it became. What Chun family young master was frightened by a wild wolf and fainted. In the end, Chun family young master suffered retribution. He was walking nicely when a bird poop landed on his head and he fainted. The people who heard that, they felt like they were farting. The more it spread, the more it got out of hand. Couldn't they have some professional ethics in spreading rumors? They all knew that it was just a rumor, but they should have spread it so that they could have some fun after the meal. But what was this bird poop that made a person faint? Whoever believed it had a problem with their brain. However, not only did people believe it, but that fool in the city knew that bird poop could make a person faint. He ran away from the bird, afraid that it would make him faint. Chun Manor. The doctor was busy and was so anxious that his head was covered in sweat. This was the Chun family young master. If something happened, they would be unlucky. Pinching his philtrum, acupuncture, everything was tried, but he didn't wake him up. In the end, they invited the old doctor in the city. His mouth was filled with black teeth, and he had smoked for decades. He also liked to eat garlic. The moment he opened his mouth, the smell was so sweet and fragrant. After smelling it, he would spit out bubbles. The old doctor's hands trembled as his face got close to Chen Shengyao. His old eyes couldn't see clearly, so he had to get close. As he looked, he opened his mouth. A thread of turbid air floated out. Suddenly, Chen Shengyao's nose moved. The smell was too piercing. He woke up. He really woke up. The doctors around were shocked, and then said, God, doctor, and is amazing. The old doctor, miracle doctor, and was a little confused. What was going on? This god doctor didn't even see what was wrong with young Master Chun. So why did he wake up? However, when he heard all these praises, he nodded his head. It was so easy. It was just a small matter. P.S. Seeking monthly tickets, seeking subscriptions. I will continue updating at night. I'm going to write. Chapter 118. Where am I? Chun Shengyao personally felt what Li Tsong experienced. It was even heavier. So smelly. It was really smelly. Ugh. He laid on the bed and vomited. A stench that had never existed wrapped around his nose. He couldn't take it, and his stomach started to flip. What happened to young master? God doctor, and take a look at what happened to young master. The servants panicked. How badly was young master injured? God doctor and panicked. What was going on? Didn't he wake up just now? Now he was vomiting. Did he have to be so terrifying? Didn't he wake up? Why did he have to vomit? Were they playing with him? God doctor and's head hurt. It wasn't easy to be a god doctor. If he cured him, he would be promoted to a higher position. If it didn't, heads would roll. Don't panic. Let me take a look. God doctor and panicked, but he still got close. Suddenly, Chun Shengyao felt that the source of the stench was this old fart in front of him. Go to hell. God doctor and was kicked to the ground. He rolled on the ground. He cried out. He cried out. Young master, are you okay? The servant walked forwards and stepped over God doctor and's body. He didn't care about him at all. God doctor and felt bitter as he looked at the servants that stepped over him. reality. They were all too realistic. They praised him for being a god doctor and were really respectful. In the blink of an eye, they disrespected him. That was just so inhumane. I am okay. Chen Shengyao sat on the bed. His gaze became really sharp and terrifying. Marshall Path Mountain, new sect leader, I want your lives. He was really furious. Before he went up, he faced that silly guy who attacked him right away. He obviously didn't care about him at all. Flames of rage burned in his heart. Rage points were sent over. Li Tsong, where did you die? Chen Shengyao hollered. The servants around knelt on the ground in fear. They had to kneel. Young Master was furious. He had to kneel. If he didn't, Young Master would be annoyed by him and send him to eat dirt. Li Tsong was lying on the bed and was prepared to rest. When he heard that the Young Master called him, he immediately ran over, not daring to waste a single second. Young Master, I'm here. Li Tsong hurried over, enduring the pain on his face. Young Master, what are your orders? Chen Shengyao waved his hand. All of you scram. The servants felt as if they had been released, and they left dejectedly. Only the doctors in the room were a little dissatisfied. We eagerly came here to treat your illness. Even if we couldn't cure you, you shouldn't have refused to pay us at least a tael of silver. He was even the Chun family's young master. He was too stingy, but there was no other way. Fear. He could only leave in a bad mood. Next time, I definitely won't come to treat you. I don't even have the money to treat you. What a bastard. Chen Shengyao stared at Li Tsong. I want everyone on Marshall Path Mountain to die. Can you do that? Li Tsong panicked. Could he? That must be a little. Yes, don't worry, young master. I will head to Wolf Brigade right away and tell them to wash Marshall Path Mountain in blood. I will bring Zhang Tianshan's head to young master. Li Tsong said. Chen Shengyao said, why do I want his head? I want the new sect leader's head and also that dumb guy's head. Yes, Li Tsong replied. How would he dare to ask more? He really wanted to know who that dumb guy was. He didn't even know how to send his head over. However, to him, that wasn't a problem. He would kill everyone on Marshall Path Mountain and see who was dumb. That would be the dumb guy. Huang family. When Huang Born learned that Chen Shengyao brought people to Marshall Path Mountain to cause trouble, he was a little unhappy. Was this fellow sick in the head? If he wanted to fight with him, then fight properly. Why did he go to Marshall Path Mountain to find trouble? Or did he see that he was working with Marshall Path Mountain? So he was unhappy and wanted to cause trouble to Marshall Path Mountain to bring bad luck to him? If that was the case, then he wouldn't say anything. Chen Shengyao was a fool. Do you think that just anything can bring bad luck to this young master? Marshall Path Mountain. Lin Fan was stunned. Rage points increased for no reason. Rage points plus 111. Rage points plus 222. Rage points plus 666. Damn, who brought the rage points? Was it that teacher from before? Impossible. How could such a useless fellow bring so many rage points? He felt that the small support system was a little bad. Who gave him rage points would at least mention a name. Doing good deeds without leaving one's name was a saying in the past. Now he had to rely on human flesh. That was just too problematic. At this moment, he saw his cousin return from the foot of the mountain and was a little confused. Cousin, what were you doing at the foot of the mountain? Lin Fan asked. Zhou Zhongmao replied, Cousin, I didn't do anything. I just stayed there and looked. Lin Fan thought about it and couldn't think of anything. Who was it? When he thought about it, he couldn't sleep well. When Yuan Tianshu saw Lin Fan pass him, he frowned in confusion. What was that surnamed Lin person thinking about? He had to dodge it. Zhang Tianxian saw that Yuan Tianshu was slacking and immediately pulled him out. Why are you slacking? Quickly supervised them. To Zhang Tianxian, he was the deputy sect leader. As for the rest, he could just give them to the grand disciple. Once Marshall Path Mountain reopened, he would recruit disciples. It was tough to recruit disciples now. What kind of benefits did he have to give so that people would come? He had to study this problem. Yuan Tianshu looked at Zhang Tianxian, his eyes filled with disdain. This fellow was using a chicken feather as a token of authority. However, this person wasn't someone to be offended. He looked dumb, but he was actually really cunning. Heavens! In such a small place, there were only a few people. How many of them were good people? Li Tsong brought young master's orders and rode his horse towards Wolf Brigade. That was the biggest bandit lair within 100 miles of Jiang City. They were really vicious and vicious. Who knew how many people were robbed by Wolf Brigade? From Jiang City to reach there, one needed half a day. Going back and forth was a day. They attacked crazily. Dust and lightning. What he needed to do was to reach Wolf Brigade in the shortest time and bring young master's orders over. When night came, Li Tsong panted and felt his butt hurt. The road was too tough, and sitting on the back of the horse, his butt felt really uncomfortable. Looking out, the lights in front of the stronghold were bright. "Who is it? Report your name." A person jumped down from a tree and said solemnly. In the dark night, the weapon in his hand gave off a cold glow. Li Tsong said, "It is me, Chun family's Li Kong, so is Teacher Li, please enter." As expected, that was the case. Wolf Brigade and Chun family had such a close relationship. Li Tsong entered the depths of Wolf Brigade and saw many carriages filled with goods. Many bandits were unloading them. It was obvious that they went out to do something and obtained huge gains. He entered the room. Zhongyi Hall. A male sat on the main seat. He wore a thick leather shirt and had a bald head. There was a knife scar at the corner of his eye that stretched to the corner of his mouth. He looked really vicious and terrifying. Even if he was a martial path grade 6 expert, he still panicked. He felt like he wasn't facing a person, but a lion. There were many people sitting around. These were the elites of Wolf Brigade. Li Tsong cupped his fists and said, "Leader, young master ordered me to come out and wash Martial Path Mountain in blood." The leader didn't say anything. The people sitting below said, "Martial Path Mountain? Didn't they close down? Why did they open up a mountain again?" They all knew about Martial Path Mountain. That was a joke. Any random person wanted to open up a mountain and even give money to disciples. What a joke. "All of you shut up." The leader opened his mouth. His voice was really heavy, giving one an irresistible feeling. "Since it is young master's orders, then our Wolf Brigade will complete it beautifully. Second brother, third brother, bring people and Teacher Li back to wash Martial Path Mountain in blood. On the way back, rob the villages around Jiang City and snatch some women. Recently, there are many more brothers in the stronghold, and we don't have enough women." "Yes, big brother." Second brother stood up. A maniacal glow flashed in his eyes. Second brother's body was a little thin and weak, but his facial features were really tight, giving one a dark and vicious feeling. Li Tsong frowned. "Leader, it isn't good to rob the villages around Jiang City, right?" That was indeed the case. "Ha ha." The leader smiled. "What is not good about it? As long as our Wolf Brigade heads out, then we have to bring things back. What can Martial Path Mountain have? There is nothing at all. I can't let our brothers head out for nothing." Li Tsong smiled. Damn, why was he thinking so much? As long as he completed young master's mission, who cared about those villages? At most, if something happened, he would inform the Wolf Brigade that Jiang City wanted to stop them, so they had to be calm and not fight head-on. Anyways, it wasn't like such a thing had never happened before. One just had to get used to it. Li Tsong said, "Then, please follow me back to Jiang City. Martial Path Mountain has a total of 6 people, and we don't have any scale." Third brother said in disdain, "Scale? Even if it was the previous Martial Path Mountain, we could come and go freely. Could they stop us?" Wolf Brigade was just so confident. They had won every battle. They robbed merchants, and no matter whether or not they had experts, they would kill anyone they met. They didn't stop at all. Li Tsong said, "Of course, the Wolf Brigade is really strong, so naturally, Martial Path Mountain is nothing. However, it isn't convenient for young master to attack. Otherwise, why would he bother all of you?" He was annoyed with the Wolf Brigade long ago. All of them were so arrogant. As the Chun family teacher, I have never been so arrogant. How infuriating. Let's see if I complain to young master when I return. The leader said, "Young master's matter is naturally our matter. Okay, let's not talk anymore. Let's head to Jiang City and solve these problems for young master." The second master and the third master gathered 30 of their brothers, brought their sabers, and rode away. Bringing 30 was enough. Their wolf brigade was famous outside, and people were terrified when they heard their name. Not many people had the ability to fight back when they saw them. They left. The leader's face slowly turned cold. Big brother, we are so strong. So why do we need to listen to Chin family? Someone said. They felt that they were really strong. They didn't need to listen to anyone at all, especially that Chun family young master who treated them like lackeys and ordered them around. It really made one feel uncomfortable. The leader said, not enough. That night, Lin Fan studied the small support system. His own ability was already really strong. Physique, 240, Martial Path Grade 8, Internal Strength, 240, Martial Path Grade 8, Heart Cultivation, Purple Sun Forsaint Scripture, Grade 10, Cultivation Technique, Vengeful Tiger Blade Technique, Returning to True, Bug Controlling Technique, Basics, Unmovable King Body, Unlearned, Lightning Blade 4 Strokes, Reach the Peak, Mixed Energy Broken Jade Hand, Mastery through Comprehension. Rage Points. 3, 740 He picked up the blade he brought from City and held it in his hand. Instantly, a thin layer was attached to the blade. That was the blade glow. Lightning Blade 4 Strokes was really strong, and it could slash out sparks with lightning. 1. Internal Strength injected in. The blade glow was extremely strong, and the entire room was extremely bright. He retracted his technique. The blade glow dissipated, and everything returned back to normal. I know I'm strong, but I have no place to use it. What a headache. Lin Fan exclaimed. He was really strong now. He wasn't bragging, but it was the truth. He thought that he would be able to use it when he came out. But now it seemed like he thought too much. Could the Martial Path Mountain matter be solved with strength? That was something that could only be solved with money and brains. However, for some reason, he felt that his father sent him out because he didn't want him to experience something. He could feel the greatness of a father's love. When there is chaos, money and brains are useless. What is useful is still strength. His brain spun as he recalled some things that happened in the past. He suddenly comprehended something. He had never seen his father crave money, and one could even say that he had no emotions at all. If anyone did such a thing, then there were only two possibilities. One was that he was blind. The other was that he knew that money was useless. For some reason, his brain became more and more agile. It wasn't like that in the past. It seemed like after he raised the Purple Sun Forsaint Scripture, there was such a change. Maybe this cultivation technique made him smarter the more he cultivated. That might be the case. However, he didn't like to be too smart. If not, he would be strong and smart. Then, he wouldn't be giving him a chance to live. Within Jiang City, Chun Shengyao looked coldly at Martial Path Mountain in the distance. Tomorrow, at most tomorrow, that place would be a sea of flames. Offending me, Chun Shengyao. Don't you know who I am? This young master is very narrow-minded. 20th of July, morning, Hualulu. Far away from Jiang City, the Wolf Brigade bandits rode horses over and finally reached their destination. Li Tsong said, "It isn't convenient for me to appear, so I will head back to inform young master. What happens next will depend on all of you. However, I hope that all of you can act at night. That way you won't cause too much of commotion." After which, Li Tsong rode the horse and left. They didn't do anything, just standing there, and they could scare a bunch of people to death. Zhang Tianshan felt like he had lost face. No matter what, he was the deputy sect leader, and he had face. Although they were bandits, they couldn't be so arrogant, right? I'm the deputy sect leader. The sect leader isn't here, so I am in charge of Martial Path Mountain. If you have something to say, then say it. It is broad daylight, and I don't believe that you dare to attack. Zhang Dashan suppressed his anger. Come. A long blade stabbed right in front of Zhang Dashan. You don't dare to attack? Are you sure? Second brother asked with a dark and sunken face. A drop of sweat appeared on Zhang Dashan's forehead. Damn, he was just saying. How could he be sure that he didn't dare to attack? What is going on? Why aren't you sleeping so early in the morning? Why are you running out to do this? Lin Fan was woken up by the noise. Didn't they look at the time? Are you animals? Even if you don't sleep, you have to let me sleep. Young master, wear your clothes. It is cold. Go Z chased over with his clothes. Young master was wearing his pajamas, and it was cold. What if he caught a cold? Lin Fan was furious. He didn't wake up naturally, so he had a temper. Second brother said, "You are the new Marshall Path Mountain sect leader?" Lin Fan scolded. F***CK your mother. Are you a bunch of B***starred sick? Is there a hole in your brains? Why are you crying like ghosts and howling like wolves in the morning? Are you guys looking for death? Yuan Tianchu was shocked. He had never seen Lin Fan so angry before. Was this Lin Fan's true face? When a person was unconscious, the personality that he showed was his true self. That was possible. It was really possible. Second brother was stunned by Lin Fan's scolding. No one had ever dared to speak to him like that. Rage points plus 666. The bandits behind him looked at Lin Fan in shock. This new sect leader was a little fierce. Or is there something wrong with his brain, and he didn't see what was going on? The commoners didn't dare to say anything. New sect leader, can you not be so overbearing? These are the bandits of Wolf Brigade, and they are really fierce. If you anger them like that, you would drag us down. We acted like we were dead and hoped that after they killed you, they would let us off. You're not letting any of us off. Ha ha. A second brother. I think he is a fool. Third brother laughed. He couldn't stop himself from laughing. Maybe he had never seen such a scene before. Rage points plus 777. Second brother lost all his face, and he lost all his face in front of his brothers. What could he do? You're asking to die. Second brother hollered in rage and charged forwards. He slapped out with his palm, and light was absorbed from his palm. His martial path cultivation wasn't weak, at least grade 6 or 7. Pung. Lin Fan used mixed energy broken jade hand and slapped forwards. Pung pung. A huge force spread over, and second brother retreated a few steps. His hand hurt badly, and his expression was solemn. Kiki, I thought you were a fool, so you have some ability. However, even so, you have to die today. Attack! Don't leave a single chicken or dog on Marshall Path Mountain. Lin Fan wasn't in a good mood. Cousin, beat them up. Leave the people and horses alive. Zhou Zhongmao suppressed the rage in his heart. This bunch of arrogant bandits didn't care about his cousin at all. However, he was annoyed that he wanted to leave them alive. Pung! Zhou Zhongmao's footsteps landed on the ground, and cracks appeared. He instantly appeared in front of the bandits. He hollered. He gave out a shocking roar of rage. The horses knelt on the ground. The bandits on its back were stunned by that roar, and they all rolled off their horses. Zhou Zhongmao crossed his arms, and his aura boiled. Thick internal strength seeped out from his body. Heaven and earth reversal. With such a stance, a shocking thing happened. The bandits felt like they couldn't control their bodies as they gathered towards the center. Zhou Zhongmao's crossed arms were like a ball, directly controlling the bandits. What technique is that? Second brother was shocked like he had seen a ghost. When had they ever seen such a mysterious and indiscernible technique? He didn't even touch the person. Pung, pung, pung. The bandits felt a huge force pressing down on their bodies, and they were unable to move at all. Lin Fan was lazy to look. Capture them. Once I sleep, I will slowly deal with them. He didn't even look at the bandits, turning around and leaving right away. He wanted to go back to sleep. The bandits looked at Zhou Zhongmao. Who was this honest and even a little silly fellow? Also, what did that new sect leader mean? Why did it feel like he didn't care about the Wolf Brigade people at all? Damn, wasn't he defeated way too quickly? Chun Xingyao, who did you offend? We were all wiped out. Let's not talk about second brother. Just talking about third leader, he had already thought about how to kill the people from Marshall Path Mountain. He even thought about the specific steps. However, when he fell off the horse, he knew that he was finished. As expected, he didn't even pull out his blade and was beaten to the ground. How embarrassing. At that moment, Zhou Zhongmao stood in front of them and looked at them coldly. You all are so annoying. My cousin doesn't like to be disturbed when he is sleeping. Brother, we came to slaughter Marshall Path Mountain, and you told me that your cousin didn't like to be disturbed when he was sleeping. Can you give us some face? You didn't care about us at all, right? Chun family. Young master, I am back. Tonight, the Wolf Brigade will attack, and we will be able to see fireworks. Li Tsong said. Chun Shengyao nodded his head. Very good. He felt really good in his heart. This was the effect that he wanted. The Wolf Brigade was vicious, and no one on Marshall Path Mountain would be able to live. Suddenly, a servant walked in and panicked. Young master, not good. The Wolf Brigade bandits are heading towards Marshall Path Mountain. What? Li Tsong was stunned. Who did you hear that from? Damn, we agreed to attack at night. So why are you so anxious? Even if you're anxious, can you not let others see? Isn't this causing trouble for young master? The servant said. A commoner said it. Now everyone in the city knows that the Wolf Brigade bandits are heading to Marshall Path Mountain. Chun Xingyao took in a deep breath and told the servant to leave. He then looked towards Li Tsong with an unfriendly gaze. When Li Tsong saw that gaze, he was terrified. Young master, I told them to attack at night, but I didn't expect them to not wait and attack right away. Young master, truthfully, I feel that the Wolf Brigade doesn't listen to you. They said that after wiping out Marshall Path Mountain, when they return, they will rob villages. Chun Xingyao's expression became more and more ugly. The news that Li Tsong brought back wasn't good. If that was true, what did the Wolf Brigade want to do? Rebel? Rebel, what nonsense. He didn't believe that even if he gave them 10 guts, they wouldn't dare. Li Tsong said, Young master, do you want to head to Marshall Path Mountain to take a look? Chun Shengyao said, No, if we go, it will be problematic. We won't be able to see the flame ocean at night. What a waste. The Wolf Brigade didn't listen to his orders and acted on their own, which made him unhappy. When he had time, he had to head to Wolf Brigade and have a good chat with the leader to see what he was thinking. Beneath Marshall Path Mountain, a bunch of people were hiding in the darkness. What do you think will happen above? It will be a battle to the death. Blood will flow like a river, and corpses will be split into several pieces. Also cruel? Cruel? What is this? You can't imagine how cruel the Wolf Brigade bandits are. Do you know that fool in the city? He wasn't a fool in the past, but he became a fool later on. I heard of this before. It seems like his father's head was smashed by the Wolf Brigade bandits. He saw the scene and was agitated, which was why he became like this. See, so terrifying. There was no movement on Marshall Path Mountain. It was just so silent. There were no shocking screams, and there was no thick smoke. To them, the Wolf Brigade bandits were good at killing and arson. It was normal that they didn't kill anyone, but they had to see some thick smoke. As for heading to Marshall Path Mountain to take a look, forget it. Even if they were 10 guts, they wouldn't dare. Who were those people? They were all vicious bandits. They didn't want to live and ran. To send themselves over, wasn't that just asking to die? On the mountain. Second brother, what should we do now? Third brother knelt on the ground and asked. He observed the situation around. It was still safe, and there was nothing to do. The current situation was a humiliation to them. The Wolf Brigade bandits were actually captured. They had lost so much face. Don't worry, they won't dare to do anything to us. Otherwise, we will take revenge. Second brother said. This was the utmost confidence he had in his family's strength. At that moment, footsteps spread out. The bandits raised their heads and looked. It was the new sect leader that they saw in the morning. At first glance, there wasn't anything special about him. However, it was because of this that they were all wiped out. They're all here? Lin Fan asked. Zhou Zhongmao said, Cousin, they are all here. Second brother got up and said, Marshall Path Mountain sect leader, we have fallen today, but as long as you let us go, Wolf Brigade and Marshall Path Mountain won't interfere with each other. How about that? Wolf Brigade's reputation was still really strong. Normal people would know what to do. Lin Fan said, I didn't tell you to stand up, so you just stood up? That is a little arrogant. Cousin, break your legs. Yes. Gotcha. Zhou Zhongmao was really quick. The second leader didn't even have time to react. When he felt the pain of his legs being broken, he finally realized that his legs were broken. Ah! Screams exploded out. Second brother laid paralyzed on the ground. His hands didn't know which leg to hold. Anyway, it was really painful. How could this happen? His methods were just too vicious. Rage points plus 999, he didn't hate Zhou Zhongmao, but he hated Lin Fan. He was the main culprit. How vicious. Yuan Tianchu witnessed everything. His methods were really amazing. When Lin Fan said that he was going to break his legs, he didn't react at all. It was like he was talking about something really normal. Lin Fan said calmly, "I am a serious person. I hope that you can be more serious with me." Second brother cried out. Third brother looked at Lin Fan in shock. The other bandits were so shocked that they were speechless, unable to say a single word. Cousin, trash their cultivation. Lin Fan said, "Damn, the bandits panicked. How can you do that? You can't trash us. The Wolf Brigade won't let you off." They shouted and scolded, but it was useless. Zhou Zhongmao only listened to his cousin. He attacked really quickly. Pa! Pa! One palm for one, trashing all the bandits. He didn't show any mercy at all. The feeling of having one's cultivation trashed didn't feel good. Especially when Zhou Zhongmao did it so violently, it was so painful that it was unbearable. Rage points plus 222. Rage points plus 333. Rage points plus 888. No matter who it was that had their cultivation trashed, naturally they would be furious. These bandits had many rage points. They had all reached their peak. In just a short while, it directly rose to over 10,000. How terrifying. He finally understood that unity was strength. With so many bandits working together, their strength was indeed terrifying. Zhang Tianshan said, "Kid, send them to the city." Lin Fan said, "Why send them to the city? Don't you see that our Martial Path Mountain has become stronger? 32 free laborers helping to repair Martial Path Mountain is such a good thing. Don't you think so?" "That's right." Zhang Tianshan nodded his head. "My dear nephew is really smart. Why didn't he think of this method? Right? Free labor. He had already offended them. What was there to be afraid of?" "Kid, can I raise a suggestion?" Zhang Tianshan said. Change the way you address me." Lin Fan said. Zhang Tianshan was helpless. "Why were you treating me like an outsider? I am your uncle, but forget it." "Sect leader." Lin Fan said, "Speak." Zhang Tianshan said, "I think we should give them some motivation. If they don't repair Martial Path Mountain in 3 days, we will kill them. What do you think?" "Damn, who asked you to look down on me? You are unlucky." The bandits didn't care about the pain, staring at Zhang Tianshan. "You are a demon, right?" Lin Fan nodded his head. "A good suggestion. Let's do that. If I don't do it in 3 days, we will kill them all." Damn, not only was one person a demon, but all of them were demons. Save me. Stop playing. P.S. Thank you, Alliance Leader Steven 0625. P.S. Thank you, In Xiaoxia, DRK Dino, Illusionless, Xiang Shou, Tan Feng, the few elders for their rewards. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.